low mid-teens in some places. On to the start of the weekend, and it will be a fairly cloudy start, I suspect, across a good chunk of England and Wales. A bit of uncertainty about where we see the showers on Saturday. There is the potential, and it is just that, the threat of one or two heavy showers over East Anglia and the south east, especially through the afternoon. For the Midlands, Northern England, southern Scotland, a scattering of showers. Quite a few showers again in the far northwest, but many areas will be dry on Saturday. We'll see some sunshine, not quite as warm, but temperatures close to average, high teens, low 20s.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. Travellers are facing difficulties due to ongoing maintenance on the M4 eastbound between junctions 45 Ynysforgan and 44 Llanlass. Detours are currently in place. Additionally, in Wiltshire, on the A303 westbound between the A345 and the A360, congestion is causing delays of about 10 minutes. It's anticipated that the situation will ease between 9:45 and 10 o'clock this morning. On the trains, expect disruptions on cross-country services between Leeds and Wakefield Westgate, while the Gatwick Express experiences delays through Haywards Heath. Stay aware of these issues during your travel today. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Britain's Newsroom, weekday mornings from 9:30.
Is J.K. Rowling an extremist, radicalised TERF?
It's extraordinarily patronising to suggest that a woman who's created whole new magical worlds from her own imagination has to be radicalised by other people in order to form her own views. That in itself I find extremely patronising. And, you know, a man may think that women don't have our own rich inner life and form our own political views, but we do, as Nana's just demonstrated. But secondly, there's nothing radical about believing that men and women are material realities, and sometimes in law, in policy, in life, that matters. That's her position. It's a very common, in fact, it's a majority position.
James, what is a woman?
But that's Nana.
Well, no, I'm just wondering. Well, it's just a simple question because I'm just asking, what is a woman then? Because do you believe that a man can become a woman and a woman can become a man?
Yes, because man and woman is gendered.
So what is a woman? So what is a woman?
There is male and there is female, which is sex. This is the problem that I think a lot of you have. I'm a feminist. I believe in women's rights. I believe in women's safety. But the problem here is we are focusing on an absolute minority of people who have no, you know, when you look at it in the round, who have no threat to women. You know, statistically,
you don't know that. You listen. The threat to women.
Sorry, not in the way that men are. This is the whole problem. Is that you saying man dressing up as a woman?
Yes.
That's despicable, Nana.
Well, it's the truth.
That is not the reality.
What else?
Nana, do you have any trans friends?
I have plenty of them.
Do you mix with trans people?
I have mixed with trans people. I mix with all people.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good morning to you. It's 9:30 on Friday, July the 25th, live across the UK. This is Britain's Newsroom with Ben Leo and Nana Aquir.
Good morning to you. Hotel hostility. The Essex Police Chief demands migrants are removed from Epping as the local council vote to close the Bell Hotel. So what will the government do next and where will those migrants go?
The doctor will not see you now. Make sure you don't get ill over the next 5 days as junior doctor strikes are well underway.
Thank you, good morning everyone. Solidarity with the big workers. I'm here today to give support. I'm here today to thank you for all that you do.
So organisations from across the trade union movement showing support for striking bin workers.
There has been a 4-year trend of increasing shop theft and street theft, which reflects the decimation of neighbourhood policing under the previous Conservative government.
Offences recorded by police in England and Wales has climbed to a record high.
Donald Trump is coming to town. The US president will touch down in Scotland this afternoon to visit his golf course and for trade talks with Sir Keir Starmer. Will it be a terrific meeting?
What you gonna do when Donald Trump and all the Trumpomaniacs run wild on you, brother?
And wow, what a legend. Tributes pour in for the wrestling icon Hulk Hogan, who has died in Florida, aged 71.
A record number of farms shut this year after the Chancellor's inheritance tax raid, as the government insists their support is steadfast.
Morning to you. Thank you for your company. Morning. Yes, Nana, I think it's nearly around 6,000 farms have closed in the first 6 months of this year off the back of the Chancellor's October announcement about inheritance tax.
I don't know what she was thinking. She must have known, or... Do you know what I think has happened here? She's come up with a load of stuff that everything's hitting the fan now, and she's caught in the headlines and she doesn't really know what to do, so she's thinking that eventually something's going to work. It's not working, and I think this is the very lifeblood of this country. We need to be able to feed ourselves, because the reality is food and water, food is life.
Who do they think will replace these farms?
Because once it's gone, it's gone.
Who do you think they've got in store?
Solar panel companies. I think they're thinking that developers will build houses, because of course they've ripped through all the planning laws. You can't really object, or even if you did, that wouldn't work out for you, because they could just build anything anywhere. I think it's very ill-construed, because again you'll be relying on foreign sources for your food, which
Indeed.
I think
there was that government report doing the rounds over the past couple of days, talking about how we were apparently keen to import all our food into Britain. It's bizarre. It's bizarre. And I wonder who's going to be snapping up all the land as well. The likes of BlackRock, Vanguard, who knows?
It's also not even good for the carbon footprint, the so-called, net zero, where you're transporting food from all over the world when you could actually grow it yourself, and whilst you're growing things, create less CO2 and all sorts. Yeah. It's just absurd.
OK, let us know what you think. gbnews.com/your say. Lots of other stories doing the rounds as well. Donald Trump, of course, is arriving in the UK today, and there's a great story in The Sun about migrants in central London, staying at a Holiday Inn, who are daily going into central London and stealing hordes of designer gear, then going back to their hotel. All right, for some. Here's your 60-second news update with Katie Bowen.
Good morning. The headlines at 9:34. Resident doctors have begun their 5-day strike over pay. That's despite Sir Keir Starmer's last-ditch appeal, saying the walkout will put patients and the NHS at risk. US President Donald Trump is set to arrive in Scotland later today to open a new golf course and a memorial to his late mother. First Minister John Swinney said Scotland will have a platform to make its voice heard during the visit. One arrest was made during fresh protests outside a hotel housing asylum seekers in Essex last night. Dozens gathered outside the Bell Hotel in Epping, and the arrest was made for a person breaching an order in place that prevents anyone from wearing a face covering. Sir Keir Starmer is facing pressure to immediately recognise Palestine as a state amid growing calls from MPs and a commitment from France. The Prime Minister will hold emergency talks on Gaza with France and Germany today, saying the suffering and starvation unfolding there is unspeakable and indefensible. And Jeremy Corbyn has attended a mega picket in support of the Birmingham bin strikes after launching his new political party yesterday. Mr Corbyn told Birmingham City Council to get a deal now, settle this dispute now, and pledge yourself to genuine equal pay. Those are the latest news headlines. More news at 10 o'clock.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Morning, 9:35. Ben and Nana with you on Britain's Newsroom on this Friday. Hope you're well.
Yes, so
You well?
much. Yeah, I'm good, thank you. You well?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah.
Ben, Anna, yeah, lots of things going on today, including the arrival of Donald Trump, who apparently will be arriving in Scotland at around about, we don't know exactly what time, but it'll be in the evening sometime. Do you think it's a good thing he's coming to the UK? Some people in Scotland are objecting to it.
I mean, I think it's a good thing, but I don't think that's kind of the question, really. I think it's...
Well, that is the question I'm asking.
I know you're asking it to me, but I don't think it should be... Whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, it should... There's no question that he should be here. He's coming from a business aspect. He owns businesses. He owns 2 golf courses. He's opening a new course at the site in Aberdeen. He's going to Turnberry today. He employs hundreds of people. He injects millions and millions into the Scottish economy. There should be absolutely no question about whether Donald Trump is allowed to come to Scotland or not.
There are some people with absolute visceral hatred for him, just like the sort of Boris Johnson hatred that people would, demonstrate. I can remember years ago when I thought Trump was great because I watched him on the American version of The Apprentice, and everyone goes, "Oh, he's racist, he's racist." And I thought, no, he isn't. I've been watching this, and black people win as well when he's on. And he was actually really funny and really good and really fair.
Yeah.
So I liked him before, but I lost so many friends because of it.
Well, it's going to be an interesting weekend. So he's landing in the UK today, then he's across his sites Saturday, Sunday and Monday as well, I think. So protest planned. I think there's one in Edinburgh for midday tomorrow, one in Aberdeen, midday tomorrow. I may or may not be there at the protest, seeing what it's all about. So, yeah, it's going to be lots of fun. Let's move on. Essex Police, the Fire and Crime Commissioner, both of them have written to the Home Secretary, Yvette Cooper, demanding that migrants are removed from Epping following days of protests there.
Yes. So overnight, Epping Forest District Council voted unanimously to urge the government to close the Bell Hotel.
And whilst that was taking place, GB News national reporter Charlie Peters was at the protest.
Save our kids is the chant behind me as hundreds have gathered outside the Epping Council buildings to demonstrate against a migrant hotel in their town. The Bell down the road, just an 8-minute walk away from this location here, was the scene of an earlier protest by those same locals protesting against over 100 men who had been put up in that hotel. Now, the reason why they're chanting those words, they say, is because they do not feel safe in their local area after a recent alleged sex attack by one of the men being held at that hotel. That, they say, has left many people afraid to come out of their homes. Well, there has been a significant police presence at today's protest, which has gone off without any incident. We've seen police officers from forces around the country coming in to support Essex Police as part of a mutual aid effort. At one point, there seemed to be more police officers than protesters. A serious operational change in the policing tactics, particularly after there had recently been incidents with people being caught up in violence with counter-protesters. As they put forward that message, they want that migrant hotel gone and out of their local community.
Charlie Peters reporting earlier. I mean, there were rumours that those migrants would be removed to a hotel in Canary Wharf, near Canary Wharf. Apparently, the Home Office have denied that is the case. But joining us in the studio, Chris Worrell, who knows a lot about that because you are around near the hotel that they're currently potentially, even though the Home Office have denied it, these migrants could potentially be moved there, but the Home Office have denied that.
Well, they've denied that there's anyone there at the moment, but they have signed a contract for about 80 quid a night for 400 places. So, you're talking about £1 million a month. I mean, what we've realised is, you can't be just turning a hotel into what effectively will become a HMO under the Housing Act 2004. So locally, I was at the protest yesterday talking with people, and, we can't have a council that does passive non-enforcement of these planning regulations. And I think there's a strong case to be made here around, through the council having to oppose it, because they haven't had a change of use, they haven't had a planning permission, because you're only, with a hotel, they're short stay. You're meant to stay there for like 30 days, you can book it freely, but under a HMO, if you look at the regulations, 3 or more unrelated people that's living there permanently, I think that the ONS data or even the Home Office data is saying 14 months. So it's clearly been the councils really, and this is where it's piqued the interest from Epping, have to look at these things a lot more closely. And that's before you get into the regulations around community cohesion and things like that, because it's bubbling away.
I've spoken to you about migrants and so on and so forth. You've been all for it. But now it's in your backyard. Suddenly, you have joined the far right, supposedly.
Yeah, well, I've been consistent on my opinions on having strong borders. But yeah, what I think the mayor looked for Rahman come out, said that I called it far right. I've been called far right by the Tower Hamlets Labour Party. I think I've been called Nazis by some of the former members. But when you go down there, I'm in the Facebook groups. These are like normal people. I've got friends and family, and people whose baby mothers live next to it. People that used to work with me living around the corner. There's some people spend a lot of money, and some people in the council are all equally affected by this from all sorts of communities. Because what they're worried about is as soon as you get temporary accommodation or asylum accommodation and you get approved, you are straight to the front of the queue as a priority, subject to a certain number of criteria for social housing. So then you're in the area, you've got 400. If you've got 32,000 in hotels at the minute, across 317 councils, it's about 100 per council. So why is Tower Hamlets getting 400? 4 times the rest of them. So you've got to really look at it on that basis. Like, is this the right amount and is this fair? It's not saying you need to just be meaningful about it.
Where do you think these migrants will go from Epping? Where will they be sent?
Well, I mean, if they've just signed a lease down the road, while they haven't confirmed that they're not there now, they're not there now. They're not saying they're not coming. So, it's leaving it open. And, we're hearing that there's other ones being opened in the area too. So people are worried about what's happening there.
And did you know that a lot of these hotels are opening without even consulting, let alone consulting, informing local communities? Newcastle City Council said last week that they had a duty to protect residents' privacy, hence why they wouldn't be telling the local community these hotels are popping up. Oxford County Council, similar rhetoric coming out of there.
We're turning into a parallel society, and it's not about community cohesion anymore, it's about community containment. And we're finding ourselves in a position where the reason why they've chosen that site in Canary Wharf, I'll tell you why, right? There's one road into the Isle of Dogs and one road out. And the way they put the police around, they're just waiting for it to kick off there. They're going to nick everyone because they can't get them in Epping. They're all into the forest, they're all running around and running people over while they're at it. But in Tower Hamlets,
What do you mean running people over?
Well, they hit someone, didn't they, when they were trying to drive away? Yeah. The police van, I think, was escorting the people away or whatever.
I think it was a member of the press.
Member of the press. They run them over in the madness. So part of it also is about, if you're getting disturbance in those areas, there are regulations that the local authority needs to enforce around, there's disturbances. There's I think another Stand Up to Fascism campaign coming today. These are things that, if they're going to be rolling them in, the police. I'll tell you the other thing, that what they were trying to do
Well, they claimed that they weren't rolling them in, and they also claimed that they were moving them away from potential trouble.
I think that's disputed from people, but whatever it may be. The other thing is outside this hotel, where the protesters were over the road, and it was raining, right? Over the road. They come over and go, the police are going, oh, you can't stand there, it's trespass. It was a civil matter. They're even trying to, blag peaceful protesters just to disperse. And do you know what they also did? They started putting CCTV cameras up. There was a knife fight down the road in Cross Harbour. Didn't put any cameras up there, but as soon as there's peaceful protests, they're putting them up.
Well, there were 25 or so police cars yesterday outside the Britannia Hotel in Canary Wharf, near where you are. Yeah. So they had massive resource. There were police standing on the front of the hotel. There was at least 30 of them there, from what I could see in the pictures. And it was astonishing. There were a row of police vans, a row of police cars. And they were just hanging around this area to ensure. And there were just locals there who were concerned.
I was there.
You also need to wonder and find out who's organising these counter-protests. I came out of a London station this morning on my way to work. There were 2 socialist worker lads handing out leaflets and magazines saying, come and protest against the Nazis in Epping. That's what they were shouting out and handing out leaflets. And I said, sorry, people, parents, mothers, fathers, who are concerned about the safety of young children, particularly girls, are not Nazis. And they said, well, where were these people protesting? This is what the guy replied to me with. He said, where were these people outside the BBC all these years for the paedophiles at the BBC, Savile and so on? I said, what are you talking about? These are local people. There weren't BBC paedophiles in Epping roaming the streets, accused of molesting young girls. Well, that was the response. That's the train of thought these people have.
Chris, can I put this to you? The UK government states that the use of hotels to accommodate asylum seekers has always been intended as temporary, and the use of hotels will be phased out with an eventual aim to end the use of them by 2029. Does that help you out?
I don't think it helps at all. I think they need to really look at these planning regulations, because I think they're going to be getting challenged. You can't just start using a hotel and put residents in there. You need planning permission, or the council needs to agree with it. And if the council is passively non-enforcing it, they're complicit in creating this uncertainty in the community. And we've got to make sure that we're, not just labelling people far right. This is the thing, it's divisive. And people just want, there was a brand new bit in Canary Wharf where they put it all out near the water. My wife and daughter's down there, and, her friends are down there. They don't want to go there now if you've got 400 people that you don't know where it's from when you're hearing all what's happening in Epping.
Well, can I just ask you very briefly, because we have to move on. So what would satisfy you? What do you want the government to do? Do you want them to be housed in tents in a contained area, like other countries who are following the ECHR are able to do?
I think we've got to start looking into detention centres and processing them in places.
But this is true.
No, it's not 180. No, these are things that are like in an area where you're not going to be causing. You've got 18,000 residents in Canary Wharf and 400 migrants, right? Asylum seekers. In Epping, it's like 12,000 people with like 100. It needs to be proportionate, and if you can't do that in the hotels that are available, you need to be follow the dispersed accommodation model.
All right.
Said, why is Chris Worrell sounding like a normal person today? Is it because he's left the Labour Party?
Well, I have left the Labour Party, but as you've seen, there's stuff going on in the area that I live in, and I know a lot of residents in there.
You're not about to join Zara Sultana and Jeremy Corbyn?
Absolutely not. I mean, she's friends with the mayor, though. Those lot, Jamie Corbyn.
I will say though, with respect, Chris, it just proves the mentality of the left, where you only complain when it pops up in your own backyard. That's the whole thing. We had it during COVID, when the middle classes with big gardens were loving staying at home because they didn't realise people live in flats. You have it with the migrant situation because those live in Cotswolds don't have migrants roaming the streets.
But it's fair cop. But at the end of the day, I've always been consistent on approaching the borders. I've never said I would welcome them in. I think we've got to have a measured approach, and what we're seeing now is a failure of the system that they're trying to do. They were meant to move to a dispersed accommodation model in November. Angela Eagle mentioned that in the Lords. We're now seeing them open up 400-unit hotels.
Chris, well, I think what we're seeing is not in my backyard.
Well, the building's already there, so that's how we use it.
Chris Worrell, thank you very much.
Cheers.
Right. Up next, resident doctors hit the picket line this morning in a move masterminded by the co-chairs of the British Medical Association. Dr Ross, Nevo and Dr Melissa Ryan are part of that. You're with Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello. It's the hottest time of the year over the eastern Mediterranean, but even so, temperatures are going to be 5 to 10 degrees above average through Cyprus and parts of Turkey. Inland temperatures could get into the mid-40s. Not hot, though, across central and western parts of the Med, with quite a few outbreaks of showery rain spreading south across Italy. Largely fine and sunny for Spain and Portugal. Plenty of sunshine in the Canaries, and temperatures also rising in Tenerife into next week, getting into the mid-30s.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates,
5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5.
You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah.
Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight on the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace to
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
Welcome to the Bakerloo line, where over the last year, 2 years, every single carriage seems to have been just absolutely covered in graffiti. So we're out this morning to try and do what the Mayor, Sadiq Khan, seemingly can't. Let's clean up the tube. Look, these doors used to be covered in graffiti, but no more. See, it's not impossible.
Not impossible it is, because there is so much that can actually be done. And just a few friends of mine, actually a guy called Joe Reeve, who organised this all, he's from the campaign group Looking for Growth. And he got in touch and said, do I want to come? And I was like, absolutely, I bloomin' do. Because I think we can show some pictures of some of our work, which was just on Sunday morning. And it was actually remarkably simple. What we did was we sprayed the graffiti with sort of anti-graffiti spray, eco-friendly anti-graffiti spray, actually, as it is.
I didn't know it was a thing.
A bit of scrubbing, and look, it just comes off. I mean, this stuff is not rocket science. A total lack of imagination, a total unwillingness to do anything about the sort of social decay that we're seeing in our cities in the country at the moment. A laziness, a profound laziness and lack of political will at the heart of the governance of London that means that people are just like, oh, the washing machine's broken, we'll just live with this social decay. Well, no, you don't have to live with the social decay. You can come up with new ways to do things. You can give some people some sponges, some water and some graffiti spray and get that stuff off. It's not impossible. Pull your socks up, Sadiq. Do something about it.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good morning, 9:51. Ben and Nana with you on Britain's Newsroom, only on GB News.
And now the 5-day resident doctors' strikes are underway. 50,000 NHS medics are hitting the picket line.
Let's speak to GB News reporter Anna Riley, who is down on the ground. Anna, what's the latest, please?
Good morning. Well, we're here at Hull Royal Infirmary where a picket line of resident doctors has set up earlier on this morning. The strike action is all about pay restoration. They want to see their pay restored to 2008 levels. They say that it's not changed for the last 17 years. It's not gone up in line with inflation or with the cost of living, and that they're struggling with their student debts to ever pay them off. Of course, we know that it was a summer of strikes between 2023 and 2024. 11 strikes by what was then known as junior doctors, now resident doctors, going out on the picket line. That meant that 1.5 million operations and appointments were cancelled, and it cost £1.7 billion to the taxpayer. These strikes came to an end last year when Wes Streeting gave a pay offer that the British Medical Association accepted of 22% over 2 years, but now these resident doctors are asking for more. I spoke to a resident doctor on this picket line earlier, Becky Lavelle. This is what she told us.
I mean, we've had a consistent message. We're always asking for exactly the same thing, and that is to have our pay restored to 2008 levels. That amounts to giving fully qualified doctors £23 an hour. I can only apologise to any patients who've had appointments cancelled or delayed as a result of our strikes, but in the long term we're hoping that by taking our action we'll be able to retain enough doctors in this country to maintain the service for many years to come. We really wish it hadn't come to this. I'd much rather be inside that hospital building now than stood outside it. But realistically, it's £23 an hour. Let's call these strikes off.
After these failed negotiations, Wes Streeting, the Health Secretary, has accused the BMA of recklessly and needlessly opting for strike action. He says that this strike action will cause unnecessary disruption to patients and put additional pressure on the NHS. He's called this strike action completely unjustified, completely unprecedented in the history of British trade unionism, and he says it shows a complete disdain for patients and the wider recovery of the NHS.
Thank you, Anna. Really appreciate that. Let's get a quick weather update with Annie.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Morning. Welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. Bit of a switch around with the weather today. Some places having some pretty warm sunshine. In the west, where we saw a fair bit of sunshine yesterday, there's more cloud around, and it's a bit of a damp start for western Scotland, parts of Northern Ireland too. After some rain yesterday, it's dangling in the southeast, looking much brighter today with some good spells of sunshine. The cloud and drizzly rain will spread through the central belt of Scotland into parts of northwest England, maybe West Wales, seeing a splash or two of light drizzly rain by this afternoon. But a good part of England and Wales will be dry and quite warm in this central zone over the Midlands down to parts of southeast Wales, temperatures getting into the mid-20s. Skies brightening for the afternoon over western Scotland and Northern Ireland. Slightly fresher feel here, but still some sunny spells. Just a few showers coming into the Highlands and the Western Isles. Some patchy rain over eastern Scotland into the late afternoon, but should clear away through the evening, as should any rain through the central belt. So turning fine and dry here, and mostly fine to end the day across Northern Ireland. Some thicker cloud edging into Wales, southwest England, the odd little bit of rain here and there. Much of the Midlands, East Anglia, the southeast staying fine through this evening, and still quite warm here also. Any of that rain tending to fizzle out as this band of cloud drifts its way west to east across England and Wales. All the while tonight, a few showers will brush in on the brisk breeze across the far northwest as temperatures drop down into the low mid-teens in some places. On to the start of the weekend, and it will be a fairly cloudy start, I suspect, across a good chunk of England and Wales. A bit of uncertainty about where we see the showers on Saturday. There is the potential, and it is just that, the threat of one or two heavy showers over East Anglia and the southeast, especially through the afternoon. For the Midlands, Northern England, southern Scotland, a scattering of showers, quite a few showers again in the far northwest, but many areas will be dry on Saturday. We'll see some sunshine, not quite as warm, but temperatures close to average, high teens, low 20s.
A positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed home battery storage. Sources of weather on GB News.
Crash Law 24. Sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. Bedfordshire road users face a collision on the M1 northbound between junctions 11A and 12, closing 3 lanes. In Wigan, the M6 southbound has a broken down vehicle between junctions 26 and 25, closing 1 lane. Motorists in Motherwell via the M74 southbound junction 6 off-slip face roadworks allow extra time for diversions. The eastbound M4 is closed between junction 45 Ynys-Forgan and junction 44 Llanlas for maintenance, with diversions. And on the trains, disruption is reported between Leeds and Wakefield Westgate. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
It's the final week to see how you can win big, as there's an incredible £54,321 in tax-free cash to be won. What would you spend it on? The holiday of a lifetime? Or just sit back, relax and remove some of those day-to-day financial stresses? Lines close on the 1st of August, so make sure you don't miss out. For another chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
You've read the headlines, you've heard what those in power have to say. How about now we actually get to the truth?
They would pay attention.
We go beyond the political theatre and tell you what's really going on behind the scenes. For a massive council tax hike, one of the biggest in the UK. Others follow their lines, but we go off script.
You sound like a broken record. You say that week after week.
Cutting through the narratives and giving you unique perspectives. That's Ben Leo tonight, Saturdays and Sundays from 9 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Good morning, it is 10 o'clock. It's Friday the 25th of July. We're live across the United Kingdom. This is Britain's Newsroom with Ben Leo and me, Nana Akwe.
Very good morning to you. Thanks for your company. Hotel hostility. The Essex Police Chief demands migrants are removed from Epping as the local council vote to close the Bell Hotel. The big question, though, what will government do next and where will those migrants go?
The doctors will not see you now. Make sure that you don't get ill over the next 5 days. As junior doctors are striking, it is underway.
We're here at Hull Royal Infirmary. As you see, the picket line behind us. Doctors here are asking for £23 an hour pay restoration back to 2008 levels.
Good morning, everyone. Solidarity with the bin workers. I'm here today to give support. I'm here today to thank you for all that you do.
There he is, Jeremy Corbyn, joining the mega picket line in Birmingham this morning alongside 26 organisations from across the trade union movement showing support to striking bin workers.
There has been a 4-year trend of increasing shop theft and street theft, which reflects the decimation of neighbourhood policing under the previous Conservative government.
Lawless Britain. The number of shoplifting offences recorded by police in England and Wales has climbed to a record high.
And make way for the president. He's coming to town. The US chief, Donald Trump, will touch down in Scotland this afternoon to visit his 2 golf courses and for trade talks with Sir Keir Starmer. Will it be a terrific meeting?
Well, far less few puns here, but I'm in the surrounding area around Turnberry, and here we're talking to people today about whether they're for or against this presidential visit, but nevertheless people are excited.
I have to be honest, I'm actually a little bit sick of the junior doctors striking in that way. I actually believe that doctors shouldn't be allowed to strike. I don't think they should be allowed to strike. I think
police officers can't, prison officers can't.
Yeah, they of course, the armed forces can't. So why on earth should doctors? They are an essential service, and I think in exchange for some sort of, I mean, they have pay review bodies that make sure that their pay is rising to a certain level, unlike most of us in the private sector. So, and they're doing well in comparison.
But no, their
pensions.
They're so hard done by. They were given a massive pay rise only last year. They're due another one, aren't they?
It was about 22%, wasn't it? And then after that was a 5.4% pay rise. And they are conflating the numbers to make it look like they're much worse off than they really are.
Mega pensions as well. There is lots of doctors are going to Australia for better pay here and now, but the pensions in the NHS are incomparable to down under. They're so good this side of the world.
Well, of course they are, because the contribution via the state for their pension is about 21% in comparison to the private sector, where the contribution for the employer is about 3%. So doctors will take home around about 75% of the pay on retirement.
Let us know what you think. gbnews.com/you'll say, do you support striking doctors? Do you agree with Nana that they just simply should not be allowed to strike, as we see with coppers and prison officers? Let's get your news headlines with Katie Bowen.
Ben, Nana, thank you. The headlines at 3 minutes past 10. Resident doctors have begun their 5-day strike over pay. That's despite Sir Keir Starmer's last-ditch appeal, saying the walkout will put patients and the NHS at risk. Thousands of doctors have walked out today, but Health Secretary Wes Streeting said the impact on those requiring treatment will be kept to a minimum. He said he deeply regrets the position we find ourselves in. Patients are being encouraged to keep coming forward for NHS treatment, as up to 50,000 resident doctors will join the walkout in England and Wales. Secretary of State for Science, Innovation and Technology, Peter Kyle, said that the government has been fair.
We have delivered the fairness that the public expect of us, that patients require of us, and we accept that under the 14 years of mismanagement that went before, that there were issues with regards to pay, which we are now in the process of correcting. What is not fair is the expectation that you can negotiate a 28.9% increase over 3 years and then come straight back for more. That's not in the interests of the NHS. It is not in the interests of patients themselves.
Well, Shadow Business and Trade Minister Dame Harriet Baldwin said doctors need to get back around the negotiating table.
Doctors are being very unreasonable here, and I think that it is wrong for them to go on strike. The Health Secretary, who I think is saying all the right things, is offering 5.4% to striking doctors. So it would be good to see them back around the negotiating table on some of the other sort of non-salary related issues. They got a big pay rise last year. 5.4% is probably more than most of your viewers are getting this year.
Elsewhere, US President Donald Trump is set to arrive in Scotland later today to open a new golf course and a memorial to his late mother. First Minister John Swinney said Scotland will have a platform to make its voice heard during the visit, adding that the country has an opportunity to respectfully demonstrate the principles of freedom and justice for all, and also promote Scotland's economic investment potential. It's understood that the President will meet with Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer during the trip. Well, Sir Keir Starmer is facing pressure to immediately recognise Palestine as a state amid growing calls from MPs and a commitment from France. The Prime Minister will hold emergency talks on Gaza with France and Germany today, saying the suffering and starvation unfolding there is unspeakable and indefensible. He also said statehood was the inalienable right of the Palestinian people, but maintained that a ceasefire should come first. French President Emmanuel Macron confirmed last night that France will recognise Palestinian statehood, making his country the first G7 nation to do so. He said he would formalise the move at the UN General Assembly in September. A council has unanimously voted to urge the government to close a hotel housing asylum seekers following a series of protests around the site in Essex. Multiple demonstrations have been held outside the Bell Hotel in Epping since the middle of July after an asylum seeker was charged with alleged sexual assault. He denies those allegations and will stand trial in August. Dozens of protesters gathered at the site again last night. Police have made 18 arrests and charged 7 people in connection with the demonstrations. The Essex Police, Fire and Crime Commissioner has also reportedly urged the Home Secretary to review the use of the hotel for housing asylum seekers. And Jeremy Corbyn has attended a mega picket in support of the Birmingham bin strikes after launching his new political party yesterday. Full-scale industrial action from bin workers in Birmingham began back in March. Mr Corbyn told Birmingham City Council to get a deal now, settle this dispute now, and pledge yourself to genuine equal pay. The MP for Islington North, alongside the MP for Coventry South, Zarif Sultana, said that their new party will take on the rich and powerful. He said the new venture would be a campaign for a mass redistribution of wealth and power. Those are the latest GB News headlines. More from me in half an hour.
Thank you, Katie, and good morning to you at home. Ben and Nana with you on Britain's Newsroom on this Friday morning. Any emails, Nana?
Well, lots of people have been getting in touch. I did just print out a very nice one and I lost it.
Oh, was it about your dress? Somebody said you look great in your dress.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much. No, not that one. But listen, here, this is one from, let's see what I've got here. Ernie says two-tier justice. He's just being straightforward with regard to the migrants. I think it's where he's... there was a little story about... this is from Jack. He says the BMA want the starting salary for junior doctors to be $46,000 a year. What other public sector job starts at $46k a year? This should be the lowest pay band. Most of these doctors move out of this band after just their first year. This is about one thing, greed, and our doctors do not have a problem torturing and killing their patients to fill their pockets. Shame on them. Of course, that's his view. Doctors would argue that they work extremely hard and aren't being paid for the work they do. JD says... we're talking about Trump. Grumpy says Trump is very welcome to the UK. As far as I'm concerned, no doubt the left-wingers will be out in force again, waving their student union signs, seeing as they turn up to everything.
David, you've said all you unions, get your members out and strike. Ask for 30% rise in wages. Every public service grind to a halt. The only good thing about this would be the collapse of Starmer's Labour government sooner than the 4 years they have left. That's one reason for you to support the unions, I guess. And Barry said, come on, Jeremy Corbyn, destroy Starmer, you're doing well. Yeah, the polling of Corbyn and Sultana's new party is pretty devastating for Labour, completely splitting their vote, giving an open door to Reform and Nigel Farage.
Now, this is from Tim. He said, Nana, there's a small village here in southern Scotland, 10 to 12 houses and a hotel, and guess what? It's filled the hotel with migrants, so now more migrants than villagers.
Yeah, but good for diversity, no?
Well, not so much, is it? Because it's not diverse, is it? It creates, you know, it's quite, for the local people, that's not really how it works. You've got a larger population of people who've come from another... I know you're joking.
I say with a hint of sarcasm.
I know you're being sarcastic. Paul Farrow, he's talking about Chris Borrell. He said, what a hypocrite. He is, now it's happening in his backyard.
Yeah, isn't it funny?
He's done a 180.
Isn't it funny? That's what happens with the left, particularly. You know, these things don't affect them in their leafy suburbs of Surrey and the Cotswolds and all the nice parts of England. When you don't see migrants or how it affects the cohesion of society or the pressure on public services, you just, you know, you don't see it. Why would you care about it? Same with, I mentioned during lockdown, all the middle classes, the chatterati saying, yeah, we need to lock down to save the nation. Yeah, that's fine when you've got a 50-foot garden you can go and relax in during work from home times. What about the people stuck in high-rises in Birmingham and London and Manchester, the people with kids who can't get out to play in the garden?
Well, they didn't think of them. In there,
of course I don't. I don't think of anybody.
And Grumpy has pointed out, Chris, this is to Chris Worrell, he's left now, but it is, he's right, actually. But he said, Chris, everything you're saying now, you were saying, was ridiculous a month ago. How can anyone take you seriously? Well, I guess, you know, I'm glad he's come around to the right way of thinking, in my view. Well, you know, because the other way was just nonsense, because everyone knows that when it affects you directly, suddenly you change your perspective.
I don't even see it as left and right, it's just common sense, you know.
That's what I mean, correct.
What colour's a banana? Yellow. No argument about it. Anyway, let's move on. President Donald Trump would arrive in the UK imminently in Scotland for a 5-day visit to his golf courses in Aberdeen and Turnberry. But, of course, obviously, there will be protests.
Yes, he's visiting the golf courses, as you said, and the Prime Minister. GB News reporter Tony Maguire joins us now. So, Tony, people should be rightly excited, I should imagine, or is there a bit of conflict and people are annoyed that Trump is visiting?
I mean, it takes two to tango, you know, and I think that, you know, the way I worded it earlier is, depending who you ask, we're about to enter Trumpapalooza or Trumpageddon, you know, and I think that division, you know, in attitudes towards the President of the United States is probably felt around the world as well. And, you know, while, you know, we like to think that, you know, we're very vocal about our views one way or another, you know, I am sure that we are fairly representative of that on a global scene, you know, but, you know, nevertheless, I think when we consider that a sitting president is coming on a personal visit, a private visit to Scotland, you know, then we should, on some level, be glad that the eyes of the world are drawn to us. And as First Minister John Swinney had pointed out in the last few days, that there is economic opportunities here. Now, the two biggest food and drink exports to the United States are Scottish salmon and Scotch whisky, and both of them obviously still attacked by affected, shall we say, by the trade agreement that is in place after Donald Trump's tariffs brought in earlier this year. So I would imagine that they will be part of John Swinney's pitch when he gets to sit down with the President this weekend. Of course, Keir Starmer is also going to be sitting down with the President, I believe, on Monday too. But, you know, that division and feeling, well, that's not just felt, you know, here in Glasgow, in my home city of Glasgow. You know, people were asked there about how they feel about the President, and is he welcome here in Scotland?
I don't think many Scottish people would feel he's welcome. I think it's an embarrassment that he is coming here at all, personally.
People have their own opinions, and I like to not offend people, so I would say he's welcome to come. Talking is always good. To divide and keep people separate from one another without discussing tends to create more problems than conversation.
I don't care. Doesn't interest me at all.
He's investing in Scotland, so yeah, why not? We don't. What he does over in his island, fine. When he comes to our island, it's fine with me.
Now, I can tell you how the people in Maidens here feel. They just can't be bothered with the circus. Not sure about the President and seeing him, but they just don't want to be involved in this massive police operation to protect him here this weekend.
All right, thank you very much, Tony. Really good to talk to you. We'll keep catching up with you throughout the day. But let's bring in media commentator Paul Connew. Paul, good that Trump is coming to the UK. Interesting that he will be talking about his golf courses, but also talking about business with Sir Keir Starmer. Do you think this is a welcome visit?
I think it'll divide people strongly, and there's going to be obviously the usual protests. But I think it's called a private visit, but how private can any visit be that involves Donald Trump? And I suspect, in a way, he's quite relieved to be away from Washington, especially with the furore continuing over the Wall Street Journal, his new feud with Rupert Murdoch over the Epstein files, and of course the pressure even within his own MAGA movement for disclosure. But how much press access there'll be will be fascinating. There'll be reporters and photographers hoping, to get a remarkable offbeat photograph or some explosive comment from him. But I suspect he may not be as open to the press as he normally is. I mean, because of during the fallout over the Wall Street Journal article, he's been strangely subdued. He's been making explosive comments on his social media platform, but he hasn't been rushing to be in front of the cameras. But of course, he's flying over with the usual White House press party. So what he says on the flight over before he arrives this afternoon will be interesting. What questions will he be asked on board? But interestingly, one newspaper that's been removed from the usual White House press party is the Wall Street Journal. Surprise, surprise.
Paul, you said that he hasn't been in front of the cameras answering questions, but I mean, he was with Jerome Powell, the head of the Federal Reserve, yesterday in what has now become a viral clip. He was opening a new building, a new Fed building in America, and he stood there berating Jerome Powell, and there were reporters and photographers in front of them. So he has stepped in front of the press.
But interestingly, no one asked a question about Epstein and the Wall Street Journal, which is in fact the dominant political media story at the moment in the States. So was that by arrangement? This is a very controlled White House press pool in the sense that there's more control than normal over who is invited to ask a question, who is invited to travel. So it's going to be interesting to how the British press, if they get the opportunity, react. I mean, personally, from my editing days, I'd expect if any of my journalists got within shouting distance of Donald Trump, let alone if there's any sort of press conference, I don't think there is one scheduled, then they would certainly be asking questions about Rupert Murdoch, the Wall Street Journal story, and of course the whole relationship with Epstein and the furore going on Capitol Hill with mounting pressure for the Epstein files to be opened, as promised by the president and his team during the last election campaign.
Well, it was Pam Bondi, wasn't it, who brought it all up and opened up the can of worms, which seems a bit silly from their side. But do you really think the American public are that bothered? I think, this is silly season. He'll ride the storm, but they're probably more concerned.
Well, I'm sorry, but a very new opinion poll in the United States says that over 70%.
Well, I'm asking you the question. I'm not. I'm asking you a question. I'm not making an assumption. I'm saying, are they really that bothered about it? Especially after the 20% that he's increased their productivity and the profits of a lot more people, a lot more employment. He's managed to deal with the borders. Are they not more focused on that?
This one is fascinating American public opinion, not just political opinion. So just take a look at the American networks coverage and the American newspapers coverage, as well as over here. I mean, you can't make a major plank of your election campaign. There is some scandalous file about Epstein. And base part of your campaign on that with a promise this great conspiracy is going to be exposed. And then when you get into power, say, oh, nothing to see here. No, it's nothing at all. So I think his position on this is almost, it's almost impossible for him to avoid the files being made public. We've now got, of course, already Ghislaine Maxwell being questioned, and of course being called before a cross-party congressional committee on August the 11th.
Yep.
This one isn't going away. It's going, if you like, it's the Trump, Murdoch, Epstein show that's going to run and run and run.
I don't think it will. I think he's Teflon Trump, and I think people will kind
want
of move on.
Want to bet on that?
I can't do betting on TV, and it confessed to that on screen, unfortunately.
I was teasing.
Thank you very much, Paul. Really good to talk to you. That's Paul Cunningham. He's a media commentator.
Yeah, stick with GB News over the weekend. Today, tomorrow, Sunday, Monday as well, because we'll be in Scotland. Lots of us up there covering the protests, covering the trips. So if you want to know how Trump's getting on north of the border, stick with GB News.
Yes, but up next, Health Secretary Wes Streeting promises to keep NHS services running as a 5-day walkout by resident doctors begins. Have you been impacted? That's the question. Let us know your thoughts on all of that. You're with Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Well, how about meeting the new ABBA? It's what a lot of people are calling Dad Harmony. It's a new Swedish a cappella group that are the biggest TikTok sensation you can imagine. They are everywhere at the moment, and they join us now. Really good to see you all. With us, we have this morning Thomas, Michael, Sebastian, Peter and Adam. Not necessarily in that order, but I know. There we go. Gents, it's really good to see you. I've got to ask, first and foremost, how did you get started? How do you even get together and think, this is something we can do?
Yeah, it's actually all of a coincidence, to be honest. It was, we were friends, but we were Peter had a bachelor party. And like 10 p.m. or something, we started to sing. And I recorded that song. And for some reason, I put it out on my TikTok account with like 7 followers or something. And then it blew up and got like, the first video got 22 million views, I think.
Beautiful.
Just
really
gorgeous.
Beautiful. GB News, the People's Channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world. Am I allowed to talk now? No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up? About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Right, it is 23 minutes after 10 o'clock. Good morning to you. This is Britain's Newsroom with Ben Leo and me, Nana Aquia. Joining us, Andy Williams and Dr Renee Honderkamp to go through some of the stories that caught their eye. Renee, we must start with the resident doctors, or I like to call them junior doctors, strike in England.
Yeah, I'm only calling them junior doctors too, Nana. I'm with you. I mean, actually, I'm ashamed of these people. I really are. I really, really am. They are gambling with people's lives. People are going to die, and they know it. They absolutely know it, which is why the BMA made the statement last week that the NHS is going to cause people to die if it doesn't cover them. It's shameful. If you think about all of the people in the public sector, they've had the highest pay rises. Who else could expect a 29% pay rise? In fact, it was 34 with the extra bump they got. Who else can expect that? They're going to go on to earn a lot of money, even if they're not earning much now. But actually, this is a lie that they earn £14 an hour and £18 an hour, because that's the base salary. Then they get all sorts of other bits added on for working weekends, nights. And when they train to be doctors, it was not 2008. When it was after that, when they went in, they knew what the salary would be, and what they're doing to patients and threatening patients is shameful.
Yeah. But it's a lot of the younger ones, isn't it? So it's a lot of the younger
doctors. We're not doctors in 2008.
Yeah.
Andy, in the Times today, Keir Starmer's written a piece for the paper, basically saying a direct address to doctors, saying, forget the BMA, I'm addressing you directly. If you come into work today, refuse to come into work today and you strike, you are directly opening the door for reform, Nigel Farage, and their dream of dismantling, in his words, not mine, the NHS.
Sad argument, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I wouldn't really go that far. I mean, I think Renee's spot on, which is to say that these are people who they chose to be doctors. This is what I always come back to. Nobody forced them to be doctors. Nobody forced them to go into that profession. It is a vocation. And it's one of the few vocations where you're actually reasonably well remunerated. They got their 29% over 3-year pay rise last year. I think I'm right in saying the average pay rise in the private sector is 6% a year. So they're getting well above private sector, which is the productive part of the economy. And the problem is there will always be a hardcore of people where they're never happy, they're troublemakers, and it doesn't matter whether it's a Tory government, a Labour government, a Reform government, they'll never be happy.
Well, they also use the retail price index to show their differential in how their real-term salary should be, rather than the consumer price index, which is what we all use, because we don't use the RPI because we know that it's inflationary.
I think it's also important to address here this Keir Starmer attack on reform, that they want to privatise it. I helped Dr David Ball write the Reform Health Policy. I know from first-hand experience that is absolutely not what Reform want to do. What they've said is where the NHS is using private healthcare, which they are extensively, then if it's worthwhile and it's productive and it gets waiting lists down, let's continue.
And that's actually not a particularly dissimilar position from the one Wes Streeting takes, right? He's always been very clear in the run-up to the election and since he became Health Secretary that where private provision can make a difference, can be more efficient, can help patients, it should be used. So, but genuine question, Renee, because I don't know the answer to this. What is Reform's position on the NHS?
So the NHS needs complete restructuring from the bottom upwards, where we take out all of the unnecessary stuff. There's a core. This is my plan. It's not Reform's. I'm not going to speak for Reform because I don't know. They will have changed it since I did it. But there needs to be a core medical services that we talk to the public about and say, what do you want the NHS to do? Do you want them to do varicose veins, or do you want them to treat granny's cataracts? Do you want them to treat puberty blockers on children and sex change operations, or do you want to treat cancer? Let's draw up a core of the medical services which are essential to keep a population healthy. Everything else around the outside is a bonus, and if we can afford it, fine. If we can't, we can't. Maybe what there needs to be is a not-for-profit additional list like they have in Australia. So in Australia, if you want a vasectomy, they're not going to pay for it, but you can have it at not-for-profit in the same hospitals because it's a choice. That's the kind of thing that needs to be looked at. That's not privatisation.
Yeah, you've got to admit that they're going off to Australia. Australia's a lot better, but they're going off to a system that is different, which is why they can be paid more. If you can't have your cake and eat it, if you want it to be free at the point of need for anybody and everybody, then you have to have some things where there'll be some concessions. And one of those things is will be that their salaries won't be as high because it's the public purse that are paying for the NHS.
When I was a junior doctor as a trainee GP, and I'd only been 3 years out of medical school, about 16 years ago, I was earning £57,000 a year. I don't think that's a bad salary. It's now going to be much more. Yeah, it's now going to be much more.
How much were you earning?
57,000.
That's really good.
3 years in.
Wow. And, of course, the pensions. Let's not forget the pensions.
And I wasn't working weekends or nights as a GP trainee.
Should they be allowed? Do you think that we should have a situation where doctors shouldn't be allowed to strike?
I think we're going to have to move. With this lot now, who are ex-Momentum, we are possibly going to have to move to that.
Yeah.
Okay. Right, should we take a look at the Sun front page? Great story. Taking a liberty. Migrants staying in hotels in London are going into busy shopping streets, such as Oxford Street and so on, and robbing designer gear, Gucci, Prada, Louis Vuitton gear, and then heading back to their hotels without so much as a tap on the shoulder from coppers or anything, and just living the life of Riley, Andy.
Well, I mean, nobody in their right mind is going to condone people shoplifting or stealing any goods, whether they're luxury or otherwise. You know, I mean, obviously, it's not good to see. I think it's important to say that crime is coming down. It's not exploding in the way.
Yes,
it is. It's not exploding.
Why are you making that up? That's not true. You are. This is lies.
It's not.
Andy, crime isn't going down.
But all of the statistics say that crime has been coming down.
Which statistics specifically? Because I must investigate those, because it's rubbish.
No, they do. So the crime statistics do say this, but this is because people now don't even bother reporting when their phone is stolen or when their car is attacked, because they know that no one is going to do anything about it.
I accept that there are some crimes where people have given up, whether it's your phone being stolen, your bike being stolen, whether it's shoplifting. I know that there are big problems with all of those
shoplifting, and you know that shoplifting has gone up exponentially. And of course, the shop people don't, call the police because it's not under 200. If it's under,
my argument is that
crime is going up. It's just the way they're counting the crime has changed.
We can't say that crime is going up because because there are no. We can't because the overall statistics around crime in the United Kingdom do not say that crime is going up.
No.
So we can't just project our own feeling onto it.
That's not my feelings. If you speak to the shop owners and people like that, they'll tell you that shoplifting has gone up exponentially. The reason they don't report it is simply because the police don't do anything. So you cannot have that statistic alone without taking into account all the other factors around it. So if you were to take into account all the other factors, the amount of people who have crime and don't record it, then I think you'd find that crime is going up.
Well, you know what they say,
15
Andy?
shops in 5 hours.
Yeah, exactly.
So you know what they say, that's crime going down?
A lie is halfway around the world before the truth has got its boots on. And that's what that statistic is.
Can I read you these stats from The Sun, Andy?
Yeah,
3 thefts a minute. Shoplifting has soared to record levels with nearly 3 thefts every minute, according to official figures. There was a 20% rise to 530,000 shoplifting crimes in a year to March. That's according to the ONS. Retail chief said it adds 6 pence to every purchase. So it's you and I at home, you as well.
No, and I think shoplifting is one crime that seems to be...
Do you see what I mean? When you use the overall umbrella of the word crime, you're talking about everything.
My problem is that Reform in particular and the right and the hard right are making a case that crime is out of control, that there is a wave, don't go to London because it's too dangerous.
It is out of control.
I just don't accept that.
Well, I'll tell you what you should do. Hang out in maybe Oxford Street with a Rolex and see what happens.
Yeah.
Well, you should be able to do that, by the way.
Yeah, and I think most people are, frankly. I'm sorry.
No, they're not.
I've lived in London for 13 years.
There's only a story recently of a man who was
I've lived in London for 13 years, and I do not accept that you cannot hang out in Oxford Street wearing a Rolex.
You can't.
A phone is stolen every 60 seconds in London. I went to Covent Garden this week in the evening. I wanted to get my phone out of my bag. I didn't.
You don't do it. You don't do it. I text somebody yesterday saying, I will text you when I get to my destination because I cannot walk with my phone out in London.
Well, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I totally disagree because I've lived... No, it's not a fact. Because
it is a fact.
It's not a fact that you can't get your phone out in Covent Garden. That's not a fact.
Well, phone is stolen every 60 seconds.
That is a fact. That is a fact.
Well, that's why... It's not that you can't, it's that you shouldn't.
High risk.
Because it's high risk. All right, Andy, listen, to be fair, you go... Let's do a video. Andy needs to go to Covent Garden with his phone out to see what happens.
I go to Central London all the time.
They'll chop your hand off.
I don't own one, unfortunately.
Borrow mine.
All right. OK, thank you both. You'll be back in the next hour with more stories. Let's get a 60-second news update with Katie Bowen.
Good morning. The headlines at 10:33. Resident doctors have begun their 5-day strike over pay. That's despite Sir Keir Starmer's last-ditch appeal saying the walkout will put patients and the NHS at risk. US President Donald Trump is set to arrive in Scotland later today to open a new golf course and a memorial to his mother. First Minister John Swinney said Scotland will have a platform to make its voice heard during the visit. A council has unanimously voted to urge the government to close a hotel housing asylum seekers following a series of protests around the site in Essex. Police have made 18 arrests and charged 7 people in connection with the demonstrations. Sir Keir Starmer is facing pressure to immediately recognise Palestine as a state amid growing calls from MPs and a commitment from France. The Prime Minister will hold an emergency talk on Gaza with France and Germany today, saying the suffering and starvation unfolding there is unspeakable and indefensible. And Jeremy Corbyn has attended a mega picket in support of the Birmingham bin strikes after launching his new political party yesterday. Mr Corbyn told Birmingham City Council to get a deal now, settle this dispute now and pledge yourself to genuine equal pay. Those are the latest headlines. More news at 11 o'clock.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Thank you, Katie. All right, up next, a bombshell new poll about the compatibility of Islam with British values. And there is a stark contrast between the views of the younger generation in Britain and the older generation on Islam. There's some pretty revealing findings. We'll share that with you in just a tick.
Morning. Welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. Bit of a switch around with the weather today. Some places having some pretty warm sunshine. In the west, where we saw a fair bit of sunshine yesterday, there's more cloud around, and it's a bit of a damp start for western Scotland, parts of Northern Ireland too. After some rain yesterday, it's dangling in the southeast, looking much brighter today with some good spells of sunshine. The cloud and drizzly rain will spread through the central belt of Scotland into parts of northwest England, maybe West Wales, seeing a splash or two of light drizzly rain by this afternoon. But a good part of England and Wales will be dry and quite warm in this central zone over the Midlands down to parts of southeast Wales, temperatures getting into the mid-20s. Skies brightening for the afternoon over western Scotland and Northern Ireland. Slightly fresher feel here, but still some sunny spells. Just a few showers coming into the Highlands and the Western Isles. Some patchy rain over eastern Scotland into the late afternoon, but should clear away through the evening. Should any rain through the central belt, so turning fine and dry here and mostly fine to end the day across Northern Ireland. Some thicker cloud edging into Wales, southwest England, the odd little bit of rain here and there. Much of the Midlands, East Anglia, the southeast staying fine through this evening and still quite warm here also. Any of that rain tending to fizzle out as this band of cloud drifts its way from west to east across England and Wales. All the while tonight, a few showers will brush in on the brisk breeze across the far northwest as temperatures drop down into the low mid-teens in some places. On to the start of the weekend. It will be a fairly cloudy start, I suspect, across a good chunk of England and Wales. A bit of uncertainty about where we see the showers on Saturday. There is the potential, and it is just that, the threat of one or two heavy showers over East Anglia and the southeast, especially through the afternoon. For the Midlands, Northern England, southern Scotland, a scattering of showers. Quite a few showers again in the far northwest, but many areas will be dry on Saturday. We'll see some sunshine, not quite as warm, but temperatures close to average, high teens, low 20s.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. Bedfordshire's M1 northbound between Junction 11A and Junction 12 is dealing with a road traffic collision, with 3 of 4 lanes closed and delays of 15 minutes. Expect traffic to ease by 11:30 this morning. Moving to West Sussex, congestion is causing 10-minute delays on the A27 westbound between the junctions with the A259 Chichester East and the A286. Traffic is likely to return to normal by 10:15 this morning. And on the trains, cross-country services face disruptions between Leeds and Wakefield Westgate. East Midlands Railway also reports delays between Lincoln, Barnetby and Cleethorpes. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good morning, 10:38, and it's the final week. You could potentially become a winner for £54,321. It is our biggest cash giveaway to date. Lines close on Friday the 1st of August. I think that is, it's coming up. That's next week, so make sure that you don't miss out. Here are the details.
It's the final week to see how you could win big. It's our biggest cash prize to date, an incredible £54,321 in tax-free cash has to be won. What would you do with that? With all of that cash, you could just chill out, treat yourself and indulge in the finer things in life, somewhere like here, Downhall Hotel and Spa. You really could win the cash giveaway of the summer. Make sure you don't miss out on our biggest cash giveaway to date.
For another chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
OK, very good luck to you. Now, a new YouGov survey commissioned by the Ahmadiyya Muslim community has found that 4 in 10 Brits think Muslim immigrants are having a negative impact on the UK, and over 53% believe Islam isn't compatible with British values.
Now, the figures come ahead of the UK's biggest Muslim convention this weekend, challenging what it calls deeply worrying levels of anti-Muslim sentiment.
Let's talk to journalist and commentator Khadija Khan about this now. Khadija, good morning. This group of Muslims they're a persecuted minority, aren't they? Because they without getting too technical, they believe that the scripture is slightly different to traditional sort of Shiites or Sunnis. But they are concerned about, particularly in the older generation of Brits, that they have a negative view on Islam in the UK, whereas the younger cohorts of Brits, Gen Z, for example, they have a more sort of hospitable view of Islam in the UK.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a very strange thing to say that people who are talking about Muslims being persecuted here in Britain, because Muslims as a whole, all communities, they enjoy more rights in the UK than they have, in any Muslim majority country. I think the distinction needs to be made here. A vast majority of Muslims have been contributing to British society constructively. And this survey, which reveals more than half British people think that Islam is not compatible with British values. So there is a difference between Muslims as people and Islam as a set of ideas. And the problem is when a minority of Muslims, fundamentalists, who are vocal, influential, and brazenly assertive in their rigid and orthodox belief, try to impose their understanding of Islam onto other people. And that is why people here in Britain, in the UK, they are wary of Islam and the Muslim immigration process, and because of such fundamentalist attitude. And the younger generation is a byproduct of this distorted and co-opted version of multiculturalism, which has been entirely predicated on the idea that excessive focus on protecting religious and cultural sensibilities of Muslim fundamentalists is somehow bringing communities together. This has been even euphemized as community relation. But in reality, this trait of burying their heads in the sand is causing more division and polarization.
Khadija, do you think, because you kind of alluded to it earlier, that one of the big problems with this is that some Muslims have come from a place where that area, that society, was quite intolerant of different views and other things, because obviously a lot of those regimes are theocratic regimes, so therefore that religion is the main one, others aren't really spoken about. Then they've come to this country where enjoying the freedom of speech, but then have not understood that tolerance is all part of our culture in this country. So they're enjoying the benefit of tolerance, but are actually still intolerant because of how they've been brought up.
The thing is, any creed that believes in death to infidels, blasphemy laws, subjugation of women under the pretext of modesty, child marriage, polygamy, imposing jizya on non-Muslims, minority groups, wife beating and killing people for denouncing, Islam is incompatible with Western democratic values. These religious beliefs are completely inimical to human values we uphold in liberal democracy here in Britain. Islam is a set of religion, and criticizing Islam, I think it's not akin to anti-Muslim bigotry. And in this survey, I see that they are trying to conflate these two things. They are trying to conflate criticism of Islam with anti-Muslim bigotry, which are entirely different things. And we need to draw this distinction because people who are intolerant of opposing views and who are intolerant of the values that we espouse as a society here in Britain, here in the UK, I think they need to be challenged on their views, on their opinion, and that should not be considered anti-Muslim bigotry.
There is a stark contrast, as I said, between the younger generation and the older cohorts. The younger generation are more sympathetic towards Islam in the UK. Islamic community leaders, according to this Times article, have said there is no clash of civilisations for British Muslims, and they hope this three-day festival in Hampshire will illustrate this. And one of the leaders says that the Prophet Muhammad says that a well-known saying of the Prophet is that love for one's nation is a part of one's faith. How can it be true that Muslims are not loyal citizens or likely to sow seeds of division in society?
I see there has been an attempt to make it all about all British Muslim communities. We are talking about a minority of Muslim fundamentalists, which are very vocal, influential, and brazenly assertive in their rigid and orthodox belief when it comes to impose them onto other people. And the younger people, as you mentioned, they are not much wary of Islam or Islamic beliefs or Islamic traditions. I think they are in the state of delusion or denial, because we see that these kind of attitudes are causing polarization in our society. This has even emboldened certain section of Muslim communities to operate according to their own cultural and religious norms, often at the expense of established laws, fundamental human rights, and the essential values that defines British society. And not to mention that such disproportionate emphasis on protecting religious sensibilities has created an environment of fear and intimidation. People would either be labeled as racist and Islamophobe or gaslighted with "you are better than this" if they merely question the highly dubious process of defining Islamophobia, which is all about ring fencing Islam, which is all about protecting Islam from criticism. So I think this effort to conflate criticism of Islam with anti-Muslim bigotry, it's uncalled for. We in Britain enjoy religious freedom. However, the freedom to manifest one's religious belief has been restricted because, of course, those religious beliefs which are incompatible with humane values we espouse as a society cannot be given, a green card. That is not a realistic approach, in my opinion.
It's pretty unrealistic, Khadija, and I thank you so much for all your thoughts and comments. That's Khadija Khan. She's a journalist and commentator. Very, very insightful.
Thank you, Khadija. The viewers at home would like to be aware of, I'm sure, the King and Sir Keir Starmer have sent messages of support to this festival in Hampshire. It's a three-day Muslim festival. Starmer said he was very impressed by your message of peace, non-violence, respect for all and hatred for none, while the King welcomed the event's spirit of unity and peace.
Right, well, a government spokesperson said the British Muslims have played an integral role in shaping modern Britain and have long contributed across every part of our national life. Nobody should face hatred, intolerance or feel unwelcome as a result of their faith or belief. And we are committed to tackling anti-Muslim hate in all its forms.
OK, moving on, here is the forecast for some top European holiday destinations.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello, it's the hottest time of the year over the eastern Mediterranean, but even so, temperatures are going to be 5 to 10 degrees above average through Cyprus and parts of Turkey. Inland temperatures could get into the mid-40s. Not hot, though, across central and western parts of the Med, with quite a few outbreaks of showery rain spreading south across Italy. Largely fine and sunny for Spain and Portugal. Plenty of sunshine in the Canaries, and temperatures also rising in Tenerife into next week, getting into the mid-30s.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
You've read the headlines, you've heard what those in power have to say. How about now we actually get to the truth?
They would pay attention.
We go beyond the political theatre and tell you what's really going on behind the scenes. For a massive council tax hike, one of the biggest in the UK. Others follow their lines, but we go off script.
You sound like a broken record, you say that week after week.
Cutting through the narratives and giving you unique perspectives. That's Ben Leo tonight, Saturdays and Sundays from 9 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show. It's not a bad brand. Yeah. Uncensored. Very, very, very easy tonight on the unpredictable. What does she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
OK, doctors' strikes are underway today. Despite protests from the likes of Wes Streeting and Sir Keir Starmer, let's go live to a picket line with Anna Riley, GB News reporter. Anna, what's the latest, please?
We're here live now at Hull Royal Infirmary. As you may be able to see, the doctors behind us here on the picket line. They're chanting for fair pay. They're saying, when do we want fair pay? When did we want it? Yesterday is the chant that they're giving. They're asking for £23 an hour. We know that in the last strikes, there was 11 strikes, the longest industrial action in the NHS on behalf of junior doctors, now known as resident doctors. They were given 22% pay rise over 2 2 years, but they've said now that is not enough, so they're asking for £23. They say that that's to put them in line with pay back in 2008. They say that that restores 17 years of pay that's been eroded over that time, that's not gone up with inflation, that's not gone up with the lines of the cost of living. And to tie in as well with the bills that they have high student loans as well, so they say that they feel that they should be credited for that in terms of money, but also the pressures that they face as well in the NHS, with many of their colleagues going to Australia for more money and better working conditions. We can hear pipping in the background here as well, so there has been a lot of support for the strikes, despite polling showing that public interest is waning in the resident doctors and that support is dropping. We certainly have heard people pipping their horns here in support of this picket line. Of course, this has been condemned by Wes Streeting, the Health Secretary. He said that this strike action is completely unjustified, and he said that it works against the interests of patients and hopes that this strike can come to an end. Of course, it's due to end on Wednesday. 5 days of strike action by resident doctors, asking, as you can hear, for fair pay.
All right, Anna Riley, thank you very much. She's there in Hull on the picket line, and some of the resident doctors who want more money, another 20 or so %.
Thank you, Anna. Yes, all right for some. Wish I had a 30% pay rise year on year, or what is it, 20%?
Yeah, pretty good.
Another big hour to come. Here's your weather in the meantime. Back in a tick.
Even though we'll see a cloudy start, it'll be a bright outlook for the rest of the day. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Morning. Welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. Bit of a switch around with the weather today. Some places having some pretty warm sunshine. In the west, where we saw a fair bit of sunshine yesterday, there's more cloud around, and it's a bit of a damp start for western Scotland, parts of Northern Ireland too. After some rain yesterday, it's dangling in the southeast, looking much brighter today with some good spells of sunshine. The cloud and drizzly rain will spread through the central belt of Scotland into parts of northwest England, maybe West Wales, seeing a splash or two of light drizzly rain by this afternoon. But a good part of England and Wales will be dry and quite warm in this central zone over the Midlands down to parts of southeast Wales, temperatures getting into the mid-20s. Skies brightening for the afternoon over western Scotland and Northern Ireland. Slightly fresher feel here, but still some sunny spells. Just a few showers coming into the Highlands and the Western Isles. Some patchy rain over eastern Scotland into the late afternoon, but should clear away through the evening, as should any rain through the central belt. So turning fine and dry here, and mostly fine to end the day across Northern Ireland. Some thicker cloud edging into Wales, southwest England, the odd little bit of rain here and there. Much of the Midlands, East Anglia and the southeast staying fine through this evening, and still quite warm here also. Any of that rain tending to fizzle out as this band of cloud drifts its way from west to east across England and Wales. All the while tonight, a few showers will brush in on the brisk breeze across the far northwest as temperatures drop down into the low mid-teens in some places. On to the start of the weekend, and it will be a fairly cloudy start, I suspect, across a good chunk of England and Wales. Bit of uncertainty about where we see the showers on Saturday. There is the potential, and it is just that, the threat of 1 or 2 heavy showers over East Anglia and the southeast, especially through the afternoon. For the Midlands, Northern England, Southern Scotland, a scattering of showers. Quite a few showers again in the far northwest, but many areas will be dry on Saturday. We'll see some sunshine, not quite as warm, but temperatures close to average, high teens, low 20s.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you can win big, as there's an incredible £54,321 in tax-free cash to be won. What would you spend it on? The holiday of a lifetime? Or just sit back, relax and remove some of those day-to-day financial stresses? Lines close on the 1st of August, so make sure you don't miss out. For another chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more.
Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
and you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello, good morning. It's 11 a.m. on Friday, July the 25th. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News with Ben Leo and Nana Akweer.
Yes, good morning to you. So, hotel hostility. The Essex Police Chief demands migrants are removed from Epping as the local council vote to close the Bell Hotel. What will the government do next? Where will the migrants go?
Make sure you don't get ill over the next 5 days because resident doctor strikes are well underway this morning, a move masterminded by the co-chairs of the British Medical Association. There they are on your screens now, Dr Ross Nevo and Dr Melissa Ryan.
Good morning, everyone. Solidarity with the big workers. I'm here today to give support. I'm here today to thank you for all that you do.
Yes, those are the dulcet tones of Jeremy Corbyn, who joins the mega picket line in Birmingham this morning, alongside 26 organisations from across the trade union movement showing support for striking bin workers.
Look who's in town. The US President Donald Trump will touch down in Scotland this afternoon to visit his golf courses and for trade talks with Sir Keir Starmer. Will it be a terrific meeting?
Stop dissing that man, Donald Trump. Jonathan Reynolds tells GB News that he's vital for preserving thousands, tens of thousands of auto jobs.
What you gonna do when Donald Trump and all the Trumpomaniacs run wild on you, brother?
Tributes pour in for the wrestling icon Hulk Hogan, who has died aged 71.
Sad news about Hulk Hogan. I was a massive wrestling fan growing up. It was my dream to live and work in America and be a pro wrestler. Fact, true story.
I used to love that as well. That wasn't my dream. I did live in America, and we used to watch him all the time. He was, you know, my daughter, my sister would sit there, and she would start crying when the wrestling came on. So we'd sit right at the front so she'd be like, because she actually thought they were hurting each other.
Yeah.
But they weren't.
I think I believed it was real till I was about, how old was I? Maybe 15,
You
a
must
bit
have
late.
been, I was going to say too.
Yeah, so you like wrestling as well?
I used to love it. I used to watch it all the time because we used to live in the States. Hulk Hogan was obviously huge, and it was Hulk Hogan who came up with the Eye of the Tiger. He was the first one to use music when he came onto the ring and all that choreographed stuff. Although he did have quite a few back injuries and things as a result of it. Yeah. But wrestling, it was quite something, really.
Well, if you like wrestling and I like wrestling, maybe in the break we can have a little grapple.
A little bit of a scrap.
I think you'd be quite good at wrestling. You're good at aerobics and stuff.
I am very good
at flips off the turnbuckle.
I could do like a backflip off the edge of the desk.
Oh, let's organise it. Let's organise it. Producers, let's organise that. Right.
To hold my wig, keep that on.
Big last hour coming up. We're going to get more updates from Trump's visit to Scotland. I understand he's touching down north of the border. First, though, let's get your news headlines with Katie Bowen.
Ben Nana, thank you. The headlines at 3 minutes past 11. Resident doctors have begun their 5-day strike over pay. That's despite Sir Keir Starmer's last-ditch appeal, saying the walkout will put patients and the NHS at risk. Thousands of doctors have walked out today, but Health Secretary Wes Streeting said the impact on those requiring treatment will be kept to a minimum. He said he deeply regrets the position we find ourselves in. Patients are being encouraged to keep coming forward for NHS treatment as up to 50,000 resident doctors join the walkout in England and Wales. Secretary of State for Science, Innovation and Technology, Peter Kyle, said that the government has been fair.
We have delivered the fairness that the public expect of us, that patients require of us, and we accept that under the 14 years of mismanagement that went before, that there were issues with regards to pay. We are now in the process of correcting. What is not fair is the expectation that you can negotiate a 28.9% increase over 3 years and then come straight back for more. That's not in the interests of the NHS. It is not in the interests of patients themselves.
Well, Shadow Business and Trade Minister Dame Harriet Baldwin said doctors need to get back around the negotiating table.
Doctors are being very unreasonable here, and I think that it is wrong for them to go on strike. The Health Secretary, who I think is saying all the right things, is offering 5.4% to striking doctors. So it would be good to see them back around the negotiating table on some of the other sort of non-salary related issues. They got a big pay rise last year. 5.4% is probably more than most of your viewers are getting this year.
Where Sir Keir Starmer is facing pressure to immediately recognise Palestine as a state amid growing calls from MPs and a commitment from France. The Prime Minister will hold emergency talks on Gaza with France and Germany today, saying the suffering and starvation unfolding there is unspeakable and indefensible. He also said statehood was the inalienable right of the Palestinian people, but maintained that a ceasefire should come first. French President Emmanuel Macron confirmed last night that France will recognise Palestinian statehood, making his country the first G7 nation to do so. He said he'd formalise the move at the UN General Assembly in September. A council has unanimously voted to urge the government to close a hotel housing asylum seekers following a series of protests around the site in Essex. Multiple demonstrations have been held outside the Bell Hotel in Epping since the middle of July after an asylum seeker was charged with alleged sexual assault. He denies those allegations and will stand trial in August. Dozens of protesters gathered at the site again last night, and police have made 18 arrests and charged 7 people in connection with the demonstrations. The Essex Police, Fire and Crime Commissioner has also reportedly urged the Home Secretary to review the use of the hotel housing asylum seekers. US President Donald Trump is set to arrive in Scotland later today to open a new golf course and a memorial to his late mother. First Minister John Swinney said Scotland will have a platform to make its voice heard during the visit, adding that the country has an opportunity to respectfully demonstrate the principles of freedom and justice for all and promote Scotland's economic investment potential. It's understood that the President will meet with Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer during the trip. A competitor in a powerboat race has died after crashing into a houseboat. Suffolk police said that the driver of the powerboat, a man in his 50s, died at the scene at Alton Broad yesterday. The force said nobody else was injured. The Authority for Powerboat Racing, the Circuit Powerboard Association, said the collision happened around 10 to 7 last night during a local racing event. And Jeremy Corbyn has attended a mega picket in support of the Birmingham bin strikes after launching his new political party yesterday. Full-scale industrial action from bin workers in Birmingham began in March. Mr Corbyn told Birmingham City Council to get a deal now, settle this dispute now and pledge yourself to genuine equal pay. The MP for Islington North, alongside the MP for Coventry South, Zara Sultana, said that their new party will take on the rich and the powerful. He said the new venture would campaign for a mass redistribution of wealth and power. Those are your latest GB News headlines. More from me in half an hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
My Claim Group sponsors the GB News Finance Report.
Here's a quick snapshot of today's markets. The pound will buy you $1.3457 and €1.1465. The price of gold is £2,487.80 per ounce, and the FTSE 100's at 9,102 points.
My Claim Group sponsors the GB News Finance Report.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to Britain's Newsroom with Ben Leo and Nana Akwe. A bit of breaking news for you now. Jay Slater, the 19-year-old teenager who got into some trouble in Tenerife, he went missing on a night out. It's been confirmed at his inquest that he died after falling from height. He died by accident after falling from height. That's according to a coroner conducting his inquest, which is now concluded. The inquest heard yesterday in the Sun newspaper today that he had video called a friend during his misadventure in Tenerife, during the night out, saying he was in the middle of nowhere before falling into a ravine. And as we've just heard now, the coroner at his inquest just moments ago has concluded he died after falling from height.
That's very sad news, really. Very tragic. But I mean, I often wonder where were all his friends, and this is very sad when people kind of either go for a walk somewhere in a location they're not familiar with, and then they find themselves in difficulty. And sadly, he did. He called a friend saying, "I'm so thirsty, but I can't go back there," apparently is what he was saying. So maybe he was trying to get away from someone or running from something. But, of course, very tragic end.
Lucy Law, Jay's friend, who was giving evidence at the inquest, said that at one point he disappeared during the night, but caught up with him in another bar in Playa de las Americas in Tenerife. He said he just found the situation funny. And Lucy was asked about his state, where she said during evidence, he was definitely on a buzz. I'd say he had definitely have taken something. And an earlier coroner's court hearing at Preston Coroner's Court heard he'd used drugs including cocaine, ecstasy and ketamine in the past. So thoughts with Jay Slater's family. It has been confirmed at his inquest moments ago that he died by accident after falling from a height. That's according to a coroner.
All right, well, we'll keep you up to date on all of that. But let's move on. US President Donald Trump will soon arrive at Scotland for a 5-day visit. And, of course, there will be protests.
Of course there will. He'll be visiting his golf courses in Turnberry and Aberdeen, a new course opening at the Trump International in Aberdeen. Let's get more from our political editor, Christopher Hope, now. Christopher, good morning. Good thing for Britain, Trump coming here?
It is, yeah. He's our most important friend internationally. He keeps us safe. He guarantees our nuclear deterrent. He's done a trade deal. We're the only one to get one. I think Japan got one last week. There's 2 countries in the world. We've got one. They're going to build on that trade deal this weekend, trying to work out whether we'll be subject to steel and aluminium tariffs and the pharmaceutical end of that. I spoke to Jonathan Reynolds. He's a business secretary last night about this exact point. Is it right for left-wing protesters to protest against Donald Trump, or is he more important than that? And here's what he told us earlier.
Look, my view was always, by the way, the entire world was going to end up negotiating with the US. They're that important. That's the reality. Yeah. Let's get the front of that queue. We could have done a deal before Liberation Day. They wanted to have that moment. I understand that. But I think there's no doubt, challenging as it is, and as I say, I want zero tariffs. That's my endpoint. It's my goal. Even if that's not possible, that's what I think it should be. Yeah. Good. We have, with the approach we've taken, I do think it's been vindicated by the results.
OK, Jonathan Reynolds there talking to our podcast, political podcast called Chopper's Political Podcast. Really important. He recognises the importance of Donald Trump.
I quite like Jonathan Reynolds, I've got to say, because he even, just moving on to the migrant situation, he even acknowledged why he understood why people would be upset because of the migrant hotel situation as well. And that was a piece that I read in The Guardian, of all things, and there he is saying that. So I have a lot of respect for him. Do you think the left-wing activists should really be allowed to protest in that way? Even though we have a freedom of speech and everything, it is important in our national interest to have someone like Trump on our side.
They must be allowed to protest him, definitely, and I think that they'll see him outside the Turnberry Golf Course. So they know they're coming, they know there'll be lots of barriers, but yeah, they must be allowed to protest. Everyone should be able to protest in this country. The Epping protest this weekend, they're OK too, just not the violence, but protesting is absolutely vital. It's the safety valve, I think. But also, I should say, on the agenda this weekend is Gaza. I mean, France is going to recognise Palestine as an independent state. How on earth does Keir Starmer respond to that? That'll be an issue at this bilateral on Monday.
What's the benefit of recognising Palestine in the way? Because a lot of people say, we're going to recognise Palestine, that means the Palestinians will have a place to stay. What does that actually mean?
Well, it gives it a legal status that hasn't got at the moment, and it means that countries can talk to its leaders as another country, almost the same level. 150 countries so far recognised Palestine as a country. It's going to be a big issue now at the UN General Assembly in late September, where Keir Starmer may have to go to now. A big issue there. And when France recognises Palestine, where is Britain on that?
Yeah, Shabana Mahmood, the Justice Secretary as well. Where were the comments made? Anyway, she made some comments about wanting Keir Starmer to do the same thing, for Britain to recognise Palestine as a state. I think France historically have always been more sympathetic, though, to the Palestinian cause.
Yeah, and we heard that from Emmanuel Macron when he came over on his state visit last month. And just as a report out today from MPs on the Foreign Affairs Committee, they're urging the UK to recognise the Palestinian state while there's still a state to recognise. It's being destroyed at the moment by Israel as they try and find those hostages.
Yeah. Can we talk about, just back to Trump, your pen?
Yes.
Because he's not here yet.
Where did you get it? What's the story behind it?
I was lucky enough to be at the 2017 Trump inauguration, and I bought this as my souvenir pen.
What does it say?
Well, you've got to ask me a question first. What's your view? What do you think? What would Trump say about himself, Nana? What do you think?
He'd talk about his hair. Trump, is that your real hair?
Let's see.
I will be the greatest president that God ever created.
OK, but are you well off, though, Donald?
Look, I'm really rich.
And what's your plan for immigration?
I will build a great wall on our southern border, and I will have Mexico pay for that wall.
And the last one, about your hair. We obsess about your hair, Donald. What's your hair about?
I don't wear a toupee.
And it's still in the box, Chopper.
Well, I don't know.
Open it. It's going to be worth a pretty penny.
Yeah, there's some guides on it, but I've got a clue on what he'll say on the back, so I can talk to him.
Good stuff.
I don't talk to him every night.
Where do the batteries go? Maybe it's...
Yeah.
And you're up in Scotland this weekend?
Yes, I'll be there. I'll be there on Monday, reporting for GB News and going into the room where the bilateral happens and asking the questions that our viewers want the answers to.
That'd be great.
And I'll hopefully be out there with the protesters asking them some questions.
We'll have some whiskey together.
I'm sure they'll welcome me with some open arms. And
I'll be at home probably relaxing with my feet up, watching you on TV.
Thank you, Chopper. Let's speak to the Executive Director of Unleash Prosperity, Tim Dasher, now. Tim, good morning. What's your take on all of this?
Well, first of all, I think that that's a great little pen. I'd like one. Please send it to me. I didn't get it back in 2017, but that's great. But also, I see it scrolling that, protests are expected. Should you be able to protest? And going back to your point on WWE, I think President Trump can handle the protest. He can handle any protest. In fact, he was a part of WWE, and you can see it on YouTube. It's really, really funny when he, back before he was president, got into a little altercation there with McMahon. So it's a really good one, and I think that he can absolutely handle the protest there. He has a fondness for Scotland. As you know, he's got 2 golf courses there, and I think this is going to be a very fruitful meeting, like you said, to iron out some trade things and also talk about some very important things involving Israel and Gaza.
What impact are the Epstein files having on him, though? Because are the Americans really talking about it? Is this big news? Or do you feel that Trump is Teflon, this will just breeze over him?
Yeah, I think President Trump has said that, is there anything there? You know, what more do we need to say? What more should we look at? And he sort of said, you know, like, we've got a lot of other things happening right now. You know, we have this one big, beautiful bill that we're implementing. We've got these trade deals that we're working with. We've got, you know, what's going on in Israel, as we talk about. You know, we've got all these things going on, and we have these things. However, it seems like there is a bit of a push from some folks on his side of the ticket that say we want more. And so, look, if there's information, I think that they're going to weigh that out for national security, for all that stuff, and see what comes out from that.
Yeah, the Epstein situation is funny, isn't it? Because it sparks this massive legal row between President Trump, Rupert Murdoch, who owns News Corp, who, of course, publishes the Wall Street Journal. The Wall Street Journal initially published this story saying that Donald Trump wrote a rather affectionate letter to Epstein many years ago, which Trump completely denied, said it was fake news. And then since then, the Wall Street Journal published a follow-up saying that he, the president, was told in May by his Attorney General, Pam Bondi, that he was named in documents, Epstein documents. The White House calls it complete fake news. So Murdoch and Trump, neither of them backing down. It could be an absolutely epic battle of the billionaires in the courts.
Well, look, I mean, this is not the first story that was supposed to stink President Donald Trump. So, we can let it play out and see what the facts are. But the bottom line is we know Russia. We know Letitia James. We know, all the other, the lawsuits in Atlanta. We know everything was supposed to sink President Trump, but it comes out to be fake, fraud, phony, not backed up with the facts. So again, I don't know the veracity in which the Wall Street Journal is reporting, but I do know that the president has denied it. And so they're going to have that out. And like you said, do they have the right to protest? Absolutely, they have the right to protest. Do they have the right to, make accusations? Yeah, but there's also a process if those accusations turn to be false here in the United States of America. And President Trump has actually been validated by that process as recently as suing ABC News with George Stephanopoulos.
And very, very briefly, this may not be on your brief, but Candace Owens, has she completely lost the plot, saying, with Emmanuel Macron and Brigitte Macron, she's saying that Brigitte is a man?
Well, that's going to be played out here in the United States of America as well. I believe Macron has filed a lawsuit, or maybe has filed. I haven't been following it as closely as possible, but I will say that there is recourse for reporting something falsely, knowing that it's false. So there has to be proof that she knew that it was false, and she reported it anyway. So we'll see how that plays out. I don't know the evidence that they are claiming there, but I do know that is a high barrier of entry, especially since it's a public figure. So we'll see how that plays out.
All right, Tim Dasher, thank you very much. Really good to talk to you.
Thanks, Tim. Yeah, that's, separately as a story, that's an extraordinary story.
Isn't it?
Candace Owens has gone on a year or two. Well, she says she's got the evidence, but Macron and Brigitte Macron have now they're suing her, and they're saying, right, let's have discovery in court. Let's show us your proof. Candace Owens last night doubling down and repeating the claim, but yeah.
But the point he was making is that they have to show that Candace knowingly knew that this was false, and went along and said it anyway, and that's a really difficult bar.
Yeah, the lawsuit has been filed by the Macrons in Delaware in the United States, so I mean that should be explosive. Another good legal battle for us to get excited.
Yeah, I'll get right stuck into that. But up next, tensions rise across the country about migrant hotels as the local council in Epping want the Bell Hotel shut down. Stay tuned, loads on that next. You're with Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
You've read the headlines, you've heard what those in power have to say. How about now we actually get to the truth?
They would pay attention.
We go beyond the political theatre and tell you what's really going on behind the scenes. For a massive council tax hike, one of the biggest in the UK. Others follow their lines, but we go off script.
You sound like a broken record, just like week after week.
Cutting through the narratives and giving you unique perspectives. That's Ben Leo tonight, Saturdays and Sundays from 9 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we are proud to stand for you, for the Britain you love, for the communities you live in. That's what makes us the fearless champions of Britain. Its voices and its values. Because we, at GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Welcome back. 11:23. Ben and Nana with you on Britain's Newsroom. We're also joined again by Andy Williams and Dr. Renee Honderkamp. Welcome back, you two.
Hello.
Should we start with migrant hotels? Dr. Renee, all sorts going on. Epping, other protests popping up across the country as well. I understand something going on in Altrincham as well.
Yeah, so this is going to happen now, isn't it? People are going to be galvanised by this because nobody's going to want a migrant hotel near their school.
No.
I, as a mother, would not want it either. I was thinking about a migrant hotel close to me this morning that is literally 300 yards from a school, and that's in London. You know, I think this is now going to accelerate around the country. Then what's going to happen is, you know, unfortunately, the police won't be able to cope. So then Labour are going to have to usher in over the summer really draconian measures, and all of this chat about, you know, peaceful process is our fundamental right won't exist.
Well, how about, instead of them being allowed to roam freely, when you come to this country, you're detained as migrants, so you are contained within an environment. So wherever that is, you're not coming out of there until your claim has been processed, and you are allowed to become either released into the community or sent back. I don't understand why somebody who's come here we don't know anything about is allowed to just roam the streets freely. I don't get it.
On these protests, I think that there is a clear and present danger that they will be hijacked by the far right. And I know people don't want to...
What about the far left?
Listen. I know they don't want to hear it, but it is absolutely the case. So let's be really, really clear about this.
What about the far left, Andy?
Hang on. Well, the far left, I can't stand either, right? So let's be clear about that. But the far left are not the people who are turning up at migrant hotels. They're busy.
Some of them
campaigning in. Not really. They're busy campaigning in favour of Hamas on the streets of London. That's what the hard left are doing. Yes, it is.
And
the people who are turning
were shipped into the Epping protest last weekend, Andy. Shipped in and escorted by the police. Fact.
Look, extremism is extremism. I don't like any of it, OK? But it is absolutely the case that these protests, and we all agree, right to protest, very important, etc., etc. But there are people who are hijacking, who always hijack these things. They hijacked the Southport issue last year. They go in and they use it as an excuse to fight, to spout their racist
So what's your
abuse.
point? Because they do it on the left as well. What's the point that you are making?
My point is that we need to call out extremism for what it is.
Left or right?
Nobody will... In all forms.
Right, OK.
In all forms. All I'm saying is that the only reason... No, Renee, listen.
You've just got married.
Let Renee speak.
In the next few years, you will have children. As a woman and a mother, I want the right not to feel at risk of being raped in this country.
Totally agree with that,
sexually
obviously.
assaulted by unknown men of 20, 30 who are coming from cultures that think stoning a woman to death is acceptable and women shouldn't speak.
Obviously,
I want the right.
Obviously, not all migrants who come would do that. That's not all.
I want the right to make my voice heard, and the mothers and the grandmothers of Epping are trying to do that.
And Renee,
people like you are shutting them down.
No, they're not. I totally agree with everything you've said. What I'm saying is that people, if that's your view, you go out there and protest and make your voice heard and make your case. Fair enough. The people who undermine your case are the extremists who are looking for a fight.
Okay,
and
so
who are
we
looking
know.
to spout
We already
their
know.
bile.
We already know that there have been influences from Russia and other parts of the world with regard to some of the protests.
Yes.
Okay, but that's from other parts of the world. That shouldn't negate Renee or anybody's right to come out and protest, and that shouldn't be what is seen for the entire protest. So those influences will be there on both sides, the right and the left. But the point that... No, let me finish. The point that is being made here is that what is happening in the communities in this country is unacceptable.
Agree. The point I'm making is that just as I'm sure you would agree that with the pro-Hamas protests in London, the vast majority of the extremists in those protests are from the far left, not the far right. Would we agree with that?
Of course.
Right. And I am saying that with these protests, the majority of the extremists there are from the far right.
But so I don't think you're...
I don't think you're...
Because we have to call out... It's not what about it.
What about the issue? What about the issue that they're protesting? Forget your... OK, some people on the far left and far right. We know that on both sides. That can be real. What about the issue of migrant hotels knocking up in communities and crime increasing, migrants spending some of their money on casinos and betting shops?
Yep.
What about that issue? What are we going to do about people who come to this country who should be sent back?
Clearly, on things like shoplifting, on things... I mean, I saw that story about gambling cards, I think it was the other day. I mean, well, that is obviously
migrants.
Insane, and I think anyone would acknowledge that is mad, OK? And I don't know how
There's
that
a freedom of information request for the information,
I don't know which journalist did it, but good on them. I mean, completely bonkers, right? And anybody who's flouting the law in that way who's come here, of course they should be immediately deported.
To where?
Of course they should. Their home country, I would have suggested.
But they won't tell anyone where their home country is.
What about
They throw
Rwanda?
away their documents.
Well, we've talked about the...
Well, where would they go then? Where would they go?
I don't know.
Well, exactly. This is the point.
I'm not in the Home Office. I'm not Home Office policy.
But you dissed Rwanda. Yeah, OK. So in the end, though, Rwanda could have been utilised in that way as a third country to send people who breach the rules. Or Rwanda was an opportunity to be used however we really needed to use it.
For people who won't say where they come from.
You dissed it, and now you're saying that these people should be sent to another country. Well, which one?
I don't know.
Well, exactly.
I'm not the Home Office policy expert.
Of course.
And neither any of us. But my point is that nobody is disagreeing with the fact that this is a problem. Labour is reducing the number of migrant hotels that are going to be used. I know they're going to put them in...
They haven't, though, have they? They are planning by 2029, but they haven't, have they?
The numbers
the use of them has increased.
in hotels since Labour came to power is now up.
Yeah,
so they may have put them in bigger hotels, so they've got fewer hotels.
No.
Going up.
The number of occupants in hotels, they're going to dramatically reduce. They're going to put them in the short term into private housing.
Oh,
this
great.
is a long-term... No, I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm saying that this is a long-term problem that requires a really complicated list of solutions.
And
nobody
easy solution.
No, there is not an easy solution.
There is.
There is not an easy
detention
solution.
centres, 3 meals a day, no money. You don't go out. When we find out where you are, we process you on site. We either take you to a third country if you won't tell us where you come from, or we don't have a returns agreement, or you get processed.
So if we're to accept that that a significant number of these people are economic migrants, which I think we all agree with, what do we think about the people who are legitimate asylum seekers?
Well, they'll
very few. By the way, very few.
Yeah.
Can I just say?
We don't know.
Can I just say? Can I interrupt here? I've sat silent for a little bit.
It's very good of you. I can't believe you did that.
This whole discussion,
all of 5 minutes.
this all getting bogged down in. Yeah, but they're gambling on payment cards. Yeah, but they get dentistry. Yeah, but they're moving from this hotel to the next. Yeah, but there's been a alleged sexual assault there. It's all a red herring. Stop the boats coming in the first place. This is exactly what they want you to do. They want you to bicker, the left and the right. They want to cause division. Stop the boats. They want you to be distracted with all this detail.
No, I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's fair comment. I think that now they're here.
Stop them.
I agree with that. We all agree with that. But right now we've got to deal with the people who aren't here. And when they do come, what would stop them are deterrents, like, for example, being in a tent. For example, being in a gated environment where you're not allowed to just go out. Not giving them £50 a week when they're living in self-accommodation and all that kind of thing.
There is
Stop
a story
those
today
things.
that a Brazilian asylum seeker was earning £6,000 a month on delivery within weeks of arriving here. I'd quite like to earn that much money, and as a doctor, I don't. Trust me.
Well, I've not seen that story.
It's in the
It
papers
seems
today.
unlikely one is earning £6,000
No, that's
on
that.
delivery.
But it might seem unlikely to you, but that's because perhaps you're not reading you're not reading the room or reading the information that we are being given. That we know that many of these people are taking advantage of the situation. Stop the pull factors. Stop the pull factors. Stop giving them everything. The British people are really angry with that. I can guarantee you, if they thought they were coming from one tent to the next from France, they wouldn't come.
But we also need to look at, we've improved our relationship with France in this regard. There's been a deal struck, and that is going to make progress. I think, then, the red herring is the idea of stop the boats in the first place, because the reality is we've got a 20-mile stretch of water and a massive coastline adjacent to France, and we are... Trust me, we're never going to get to the situation.
We'll never trust you.
We used to rule the waves, rule Britannia, and now we can't stop dinghies coming from the French equivalent of Tesco.
But it's not the
Give me a
16th.
break.
It's not the 16th century.
Give me a break.
Listen, it's the pull factors. Take away all of that. They have said very clearly they don't want to be in a tent. That's why they're leaving. Ones in Greece said we don't want to be in a tent. Even Germany have managed to send some Afghans back. So even under the ECHR, we have control. We could do something about it, and we're just simply not.
We don't want to.
I don't think they want to. All right, thank you very much, Andy Williams, and also Dr. Rennie Hunderkamp.
Thank you. Let's get your... You OK?
I'm good. You OK?
Let's get your 60-second news update with Katie Bowen.
Good morning. The headlines at 11:33. Resident doctors have begun their 5-day strike over pay. That's despite Sir Keir Starmer's last-ditch appeal, saying the walkout will put patients and the NHS at risk. US President Donald Trump is set to arrive in Scotland later today to open a new golf course and a memorial to his late mother. First Minister John Swinney says Scotland will have a platform to make its voice heard during the visit. 19-year-old Jay Slater, who went missing in Tenerife last summer, sparking a huge search, died by accident after falling from a height, a coroner has concluded. Sir Keir Starmer is facing pressure to immediately recognise Palestine as a state amid growing calls from MPs and a commitment from France. The Prime Minister will hold emergency talks on Gaza with France and Germany today, saying the suffering and starvation unfolding there is unspeakable and indefensible. And Jeremy Corbyn has attended a mega picket in support of the Birmingham bin strikes after launching his new political party yesterday. Mr Corbyn told Birmingham City Council to get a deal now, settle this dispute now, and pledge yourself to genuine equal pay. Those are the headlines for now. More news at 12 o'clock.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
All right, you're going to want to stick around for Good Afternoon Britain at noon, because it's Tom and Olivia with a star-studded show, I suspect. What's in store?
Well, the biggest star of all, we're expecting to see Donald Trump as he makes his way from Marine One to Air Force One, flying off to Scotland, of course. The last time he was making that journey to the Marine One, the helicopter that takes off from the South Lawn of the White House, he had some choice words to say to the international community. I think it was something along the lines of, they don't know what the F they're doing.
Iran and Israel.
That's exactly right. So perhaps he won't be as foul-mouthed today.
Juicy moments as he gets into the helicopter.
But sometimes he does sound off, doesn't he?
Maybe he'll say it again, but about Keir Starmer and John Swinney.
It's going to be a really awkward one for Keir Starmer. He's going to be hanging around on a golf course, no interest at all in golf. He's going to look so desperate. So I think we're all quite looking forward to that.
But there is a strange thing that the White House has said over the course of the last 12 hours, which is it's not just about finalising the trade deal, but refining the trade deal.
I think that sounds a little bit fishy, and it's going to be a huge problem for Britain if this pharmaceuticals trade tariffs don't get removed. So it's a tough one.
Is there not still a 10% tariff on cars as well?
Yeah, there is.
That's pretty
and that's up to the quota, and then once you get over 100 and something thousand, I think it is, then it's a higher tariff. But when the Trump administration says it wants to refine the trade deal, does that mean it's going to get better for us or worse for us?
Well, the Treasury say they're certain there's going to be a deal soon, but as you say, I mean, that's not looking great from the White House.
But much more coming up today. An interesting one with regard to age verification online.
You love this story.
It's an incredibly peculiar story. So it's all part of the Online Safety Act. Now, I keep calling it the bill, but of course it is now an Act of Parliament. From today, websites that host pornographic material will have to have age verification before people access them. That means taking someone's credit card details or scanning their face with the webcam. I'm worried about law-abiding adults who will now sort of experience this norm of slightly sketchy websites asking you to turn on your webcam or take your credit card details. How many people are going to fall victim to fake sites, taking their information, scanning their faces, taking pictures of them? I'm not sure the government has thought this one through.
Potentially being blackmailed as well. There's a big crypto Bitcoin scam where people are emailed saying, "We know you've been on porn websites."
Oh, that's an old one.
Their luck. It's very
that's an old one.
Send us $5,000 in Bitcoin, or we're publishing your name.
Yeah, that's an old one.
Even, I mean, the chance.
You can see the logic behind it all. You want kids not to be seeing porn accidentally, but it does feel like a bit of a mountain for a molehill.
All right, well, we'll look forward to that, all that and more at midday. Tom and Olivia, Donald Trump actually has just sent this message in for you.
That have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing. Do you understand that?
I'm glad that was beeped out. It was the beeped out version, not the original. We've all got jobs still. Back in a tick on Britain's Newsroom.
Hello, very good day to you. I'm here with your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. Now, for many, today's going to be a dry, fine and bright day, but towards the northwest, we have a fair amount of cloud and there will be some rain pushing in. That's because there is a front making its way gradually southeastwards. It's not a particularly active front, so it's not bringing a huge amount of rain. Nonetheless, it is going to turn a bit damp across central and eastern parts and also southern parts of Scotland as we go into this afternoon, and a bit more cloud and perhaps a few spots of rain pushing into the far northwest of England, western Wales and maybe the tip of Cornwall. Behind the front towards the northwest, some brighter skies but a scattering of showers. The best of the sunshine will be across more central parts of England. Some sunny spells towards the southeast, and in the south we're looking at highs in the high 20s Celsius, so feeling pretty warm if not hot for some of us here. As we go into this evening, and it's staying fairly cloudy across many parts of Scotland, but there will be some bright or sunny breaks for a few, but also still a few showers, particularly towards the northwest. Similar across parts of Northern Ireland. Across the far south of Scotland, maybe the far north of England, maybe some more persistent rain for a short period of time, and quite cloudy across western Wales and the far southwest of England, and a little bit of rain here. Otherwise, largely dry with some clear skies across central, eastern and southern parts of England. And that's how it's likely to stay through much of the night. The rain's going to continue to break up as it edges just a little bit further south. There will be some clear spells around, but despite the clear spells, because humidity is quite high at the moment, temperatures not dropping a huge amount, most places holding up in the mid-teens Celsius. So a pretty warm night, a little bit muggy for some of us. Then as we go into Saturday, a bit of a showery theme for many of us. Plenty of showers towards the northwest, and a swathe of showers will push their way eastwards across parts of England. The focus of these will be across parts of the East Midlands into Lincolnshire and also across northern parts of East Anglia, where they could turn heavy and perhaps thundery. Temperatures for many will be down a couple of degrees.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Welcome back, 11:41. Ben and Nana with you on Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Now, a record 6,365 agricultural businesses have closed in the last year.
Yes, but the government still say their commitment to farming and food security is steadfast, and farming profits in the UK increased by £1.6 billion last year.
Yes, but that was last year. That possibly hasn't taken into account the effects of this new legislation. Let's get more from farmer Jonathan Charlesworth. Jonathan, I think it makes very worrying reading that lots of our farmers are shutting shops, selling land, because obviously it's not in their interest to do so, because farming is a generational thing. What impact has this had on you as a farmer?
Well, as a small farmer myself, I can see why people are leaving the industry. It's there's little profit in it. You're working long hours, and I think the next generation in a lot of cases can see they don't want to carry on and work those hours when they can see opportunities elsewhere. If you've not got somebody that's willing to follow on, and they can see all the constraints and the government against you at every turn, I can understand why people are leaving. But the problem is it's going to it's affecting the fabric of the countryside, because small farmers are part of that fabric of the countryside, and that has a knock-on effect on everything else, the small shops, the pubs, everywhere they spend money. So the more people you take out, it's going to affect the local communities as well as the farms.
Yeah, and Jonathan, your dear dad, also called Jonathan, he killed himself in recent months, didn't he? There was an inquest which heard that in the months before Rachel Reeves' budget, he'd been growing more and more anxious about the inheritance tax and the implications for his farm. So his sad death was linked to this policy. Can you just tell us some more about that, if you don't mind?
Yes, sadly, the day before the budget in October, my dad took his own life. The prospect of the inheritance tax coming in had been worrying him for a long time. There was no information around it. We just knew it was coming in, and he just wasn't prepared to risk the prospect of a big tax bill on the farm, which we wouldn't have been able to afford to pay without selling a chunk of land, which in turn would have made us unviable. It went to the coroner's court in May, and the coroner agreed with what I already knew, that a big part of the reason he took his own life was due to the government legislation coming in and the inheritance tax on farms, which was obviously an awful thing to go through, but it was kind of a little win that the coroner agreed with us, and it kind of put an official stamp on it. And hopefully that raises the awareness a little bit more that the coroner agreed with us, and that was the cause. And I've heard of more since, and there's going to be more and more as we close towards the April 2026 when this comes in.
So in doing that, it meant that in a way that tax was evaded, so that you wouldn't have the tax on you. Is that correct?
That was his plan, because we didn't know when it at the time we didn't know when it was coming in, whether it really implemented fairly soon, or we just didn't have a clue, and it wasn't prepared to risk it. There was just no information out there apart from we knew it was coming in. We knew they were going to hammer farmers one way or another, he just wasn't prepared to risk his life's work going down the drain.
Jonathan, I'm sorry you lost your dad, mate. How are you, if you don't mind me asking? And also, have you heard from anybody from the government about your dad's death?
I've heard from various MPs, but nobody from the government.
And how are you doing?
I mean, actually, in some ways, publicising it and making a bit of a war against the government, if you like, to try and get this overturned has done me a lot of good. I'm just trying to put some out of a horrible situation. I'm trying to turn it into some good and raise awareness, and try and get people to listen, to actually realise what they are doing and the effects this is going to have. I mean, how many more deaths is it going to take before the government actually realise what they're inflicting on people? At the very least, they should hold the legislation back for a little while there's some proper reports done into the effects of this, and how the implementation is going to affect families and farms, and how people are supposed to pay it. I mean, 18 months just isn't long enough to do financial planning. Suddenly you might be looking at, depending on the size of your farm, it could be $500,000, $1 million, maybe more on some farms that they've got to find, and you cannot plan for that in 18 months. It's just impossible. They really need to go back, whatever, even if the legislation they say they're going to put it in, they really need to give people time to plan for it at the very, very least.
All right, Jonathan, really good to talk to you. Very sorry about your loss. That's Jonathan Charlesworth. He's a farmer who's really trying to sort of carry on with his living despite the government's plan with inheritance tax.
Yeah, love to you and your family, Jonathan. Thank you very much. A Treasury spokesman has said on this, our sympathies are with the loved ones of Mr Charlesworth and the farming community. The vast majority of estates claiming these reliefs will still pay no additional inheritance tax. And those that do will pay, will pay a reduced rate and be able to pay over 10 years interest-free. This is a fair and balanced approach to help fix the public services we all rely on.
Oh, I don't know about that. I mean, even if you give 10 years to pay off £1 million, that's £100,000.
What was the Treasury figure they expected to recoup from the...
£500 million, 550 million.
Which would fund the NHS. I mean, we had the likes of Keir Starmer saying...
550 million, not billion.
Yeah. We had Sir Keir Starmer saying at the time when this was announced, yes, but farmers want to use the NHS and schools. They're going to benefit. Well, actually, that £500 million, 500 million quid, that will fund the NHS for one day.
It's not very much at all, is it? Anyway, such devastating news. Plenty more to come this morning. Stick with us. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
You're looking happy.
Well, the forecast looks good.
So you've sorted the travel insurance then?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello, it's the hottest time of the year over the eastern Mediterranean, but even so, temperatures are going to be 5 to 10 degrees above average through Cyprus and parts of Turkey. Inland temperatures could get into the mid-40s. Not hot, though, across central and western parts of the Med, with quite a few outbreaks of showery rain spreading south across Italy. Largely fine and sunny for Spain and Portugal. Plenty of sunshine in the Canaries, and temperatures also rising in Tenerife into next week, getting into the mid-30s.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Beth.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie's here.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, Britain's News Channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
Only on GB News.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this was the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Co weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun. No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel. 11:51. Let's get more on the breaking news about 19-year-old Jay Slater's cause of death. He was the teenager who went missing in Tenerife last summer. GB News reporter Steve Bennett joins us now from Preston Coroner's Court. What more can you tell us?
That's right, good afternoon everyone. It has been ruled accidental death for Jay Slater as he fell from a height of between 20 to 28 feet down into a hazardous ravine which was overgrown with vegetation and caused by a lack of knowledge of the area, a lack of water, a lack of a hat, a lack of any kind of hiking equipment, and the coroner ruled that it would have been instant, caused by 2 skull fractures and a fractured pelvis. Jay wouldn't have suffered, he would have died immediately and he would have known what was going on. At the site of where Jay's body was recovered, they also located his mobile phone and his Armani bag just shortly up the hill as well. So we had a emotional statement from Jay's mother where she read how her son was treasured and loved and will be deeply missed, and she asked for everybody to respect their privacy so that he can now rest in eternal peace. So an emotional hearing here at Preston Coroner's Crown Court. An accidental death is the ruling for Jay Slater.
Thanks, Steve. Appreciate that. Thank you for your company, viewers at home today on Britain's Newsroom. Are you back tomorrow?
I am back tomorrow, yes, tomorrow at 3 o'clock. I shall see you there. Make sure you get there on time. Don't join me halfway in the middle of the show.
Yeah, I'm back from 9 p.m. tomorrow with Ben Leo tonight. In the meantime, here's a top show coming up. Good Afternoon Britain with Tom and Olivia.
That's right, and we're expecting Donald Trump to be taking off from Washington, D.C. any moment now. Will he give an impromptu press conference before he makes his way across the Atlantic? Well, we'll have to wait and see. But big questions in terms of what he's going to say to the Prime Minister when he arrives.
And resident doctors on strike this week expect chaos in English hospitals. But are they really doing the right thing, or are they already paid quite a lot? Much more on that after the weather.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Morning. Welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. Bit of a switch around with the weather today. Some places having some pretty warm sunshine. In the west, where we saw a fair bit of sunshine yesterday, there's more cloud around, and it's a bit of a damp start for western Scotland, parts of Northern Ireland too. After some rain yesterday, it's dangling in the southeast, looking much brighter today with some good spells of sunshine. The cloud and drizzly rain will spread through the central belt of Scotland into parts of northwest England, maybe West Wales, seeing a splash or two of light drizzly rain by this afternoon. But a good part of England and Wales will be dry and quite warm in this central zone over the Midlands down to parts of southeast Wales, temperatures getting into the mid-20s. Skies brightening for the afternoon over western Scotland and Northern Ireland. Slightly fresher feel here, but still some sunny spells. Just a few showers coming into the Highlands and the Western Isles. Some patchy rain over eastern Scotland into the late afternoon, but should clear away through the evening, as should any rain through the central belt. So turning fine and dry here, and mostly fine to end the day across Northern Ireland. Some thicker cloud edging into Wales, southwest England, the odd little bit of rain here and there. Much of the Midlands, East Anglia and the southeast staying fine through this evening, and still quite warm here also. Any of that rain tending to fizzle out as this band of cloud drifts its way from west to east across England and Wales. All the while tonight, a few showers will brush in on the brisk breeze across the far northwest as temperatures drop down into the low mid-teens in some places. On to the start of the weekend, and it will be a fairly cloudy start, I suspect, across a good chunk of England and Wales. Bit of uncertainty about where we see the